so excited to, where we left off last time. You had just, just had your fight. You had just had Combat Zone 79. You had Dana White's looking for a fight. You had beaten Andrew Cruz, and you won rear naked choke first round. Dominated. It was an awesome fight. It was, as you guys just saw in the video, like Dana White was not leaving without this guy. And I just want to ask like that because, before I didn't get to necessarily ask you about like how those interactions were like with Dana when you were there. Pretty cool thing. He's a pretty big star power where everyone in your place wants to get to.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of people talk about this. It's like it's like a different energy when Dana walks in the room for some reason. You know what I mean? I mean, he is the boss for a lot of MMA guys, and it's just like I have a lot, like when I met him in person, I had a lot more respect for him for some, you know what I mean? Everything you see online about the guy was like whatever, but when you talk to him, he's just a go-getter, and I respect that, and the fact that he's from Boston is pretty cool as well. So, I think, Dana's just like, for him to say those things about me, was really, really cool. And especially Dean Thomas and Matt Serra, these guys that were like, I've idolized as a kid growing up watching them, you know what I mean? And then have them to sit there and watch my fight and then say those things about me was been didn't feel real, you know what I mean? I had to pinch myself sometimes. So that was really cool. I mean, that moment of winning that fight and going back and talking to him, that was something that, it's, them saying that it validates what I believed in myself for a long time. You know what I mean? I had to believe this when I first got out of the military 4 years ago, and I just started training, and I decided to start training to be, do MMA and stuff. I had this inner belief, and I'm sure like everybody else is just like, whatever. You know what I mean? There's like, it was just a guy training to. But I had this vision in my head about where I was going to be. And, and I'm saying it to myself, so I'll probably sound crazy to everybody else. You know what I mean? Like I had this vision of what I wanted to do. And then, after, fast forward 4 years, now I'm sitting in front of Dana White and he's saying that about me. And I just kind of like, I visualized it and I manifested it. And I hate to use that word, but I manifested it and it came to real. So now I'm still not done with my journey, but it's just definitely like one of those checkpoints you got to knock off, and it's just I'm really grateful and happy that it happened. So
Yeah, bro, you're on the you're on the journey, and you're gonna keep being on the journey. And I think that like something that I definitely want to talk about today, and we can get into is having that confidence, right? You were saying all this stuff that people thought was crazy. I'm gonna go to the UFC. I'm gonna be an MMA fighter. I'm gonna do this as a career, and I'm really gonna do this. And like, your perception was that like other people might think that you were crazy, and likely some definitely did. Some probably did believed in you too, and like so there was a mix of it. But when you tell people stuff that's like different of the norm, different what they think, different than like what the just the regular ants marching type of life is, like. It creates, like you don't have you have the confidence because you're doing it.
Yep.
But like when you get that validation from someone else, like not that it's necessarily that you need it, but it's like it's this incredible thing that you're like, wow, I've built this to the point where I didn't have the confidence. I was just doing this thing on an absolute whim, going out there trying to perform, trying to do do everything to the best that I thought that I could do, and then it happens, somebody comes in, like, I'm not saying this the best, I'm not like, articulating this the exact correct way, but I have a similar experience, right? Joe Rogan hasn't come up to me yet and said, that you're doing a good job, and but he's gonna.
Yeah.
He's got that will happen, and that, all the big podcasters, Andrew Huberman, guys who I look up to, they're gonna, look up to as podcasters, they're gonna come up and they're gonna say, one day they're going to give me a shot, and the shot for me will be like, hey, we want you to come on our podcast, and we want you to, see if you can actually, elevate yourself here. And I'm going to know, because I've seen that in my head already. I played in my head 100 times, and when I say that to some people, they say, hey, kid, easy. This is episode 21. Like, chill out a little bit. But I don't think that way. I just see it as that. But obviously, some days when you're waking up, you're saying, fuck them. I'm not Joe Rogan yet. I'm not this yet. I'm not. I'm not where I'm. Quite want to be yet. So you do have some of that doubt and some of that. And I guess according to some people who are close to me, I never I always project the other thing. I always project that I'm completely confident in it, and but to have that once you've kind of gotten to your goals, to have that validated by somebody else, like that's a giddy up.
For sure. I mean, it's like you just have to believe in yourself before you make other people believe in you. You know what I mean? I think that's what it really comes down to. And people are going to, no matter what you do and how much success you have, they're going to be naysayers. You know what I mean? That's just what people do. It's just kind of, again, I probably do it to other people. You know what I mean? Other fighters, oh, that guy's not going to be that good. He's not going to do that. Because, like, you know, you don't want that to be true. For whatever reason, people do that. But you just have to, you know, stick to your guns and believe in what you believe in and do it. And I think it comes down to passions, too. You have your passion. I have my passion, right? It's just like, I think a lot of people go through life who have passions, but they don't follow through and do that passion. You know what I mean? They find other reasons to find excuses for themselves to not carry on and follow what they really want to do for whatever reason. You know, maybe because they're scared of the success or scared of the failure or whatever it is. So they don't follow through with their passions. And I just feel like, you know, it's one decision that I made in my life that, like, I had a great job in the military. I had one of the hardest, I mean, had a 95% attrition rate to even make it to my job. And then once you make it, you know, they re-sign you for bonuses for a lot of money. You know, it was a secure, good career path, probably one of the best jobs in the military. But I decided that one day I was just like, I had this itch to go back into fighting because I knew in my heart, that's what I loved. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I decided, you know, I took a huge gamble once again, and I just said, screw it. You know what I mean? I'm going to follow my passion because that's what I know. If for the rest of my life, I'll be kicking myself in the ass because I didn't go through that, and I did. And you know, everybody looks at numbers and statistics. You know what I mean? And one thing I realized for special operations, like, I was a 95% attrition rate. It means that, you know, like, we started with over, like, whatever it was, 100 people, and freaking 5 of us made it through. So I don't think you gotta, if you really believe in yourself, you just can't look at the numbers. You just kind of go for it. And I think a lot of people just once they start looking at the numbers, they're looking at all these distractions that get them sidetracked, and they quit before they even try. And I think that that brought that mentality from a military career to my fighting. Is like, I know there's, you know, looking like there's going to be a low attrition rate for me to make it to the UFC. But I decided to be like, you know what I mean? If I made it to this, it's something that, I mean, I like it, but it's not my passion. I mean, it was cool, but it's not my passion. And now I'm going to do this for my passion. It's so much easier for me to work hard in something I actually love to do. So every day I wake up, man, like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, if the UFC doesn't work out, I still, every single day, I want to wake up and do martial arts because I just realized that's what I love to do. You know what I mean? It's not about the UFC. You know, I think the goal is a distraction. It's about what you're doing right now, every single day in and day out.
Yeah, it's about the journey. And that it's 100%. You know, you hear that from so many great people. It's what we learn along the way. It's not about the destination. Yep. And like, your story speaks so loudly because, you know, people are, you know, a lot of people who are trying to get into the UFC, you know, they're trying to, you know, become a professional fighter. You know, money is a hard thing to, you know, living style is hard. You know, we had a gentleman named Don Chanis on our show, and he, you know, Don's awesome, and he shared his story of what, you know, bartending and Uber driving and anything he can to make money, and so he can get to the point where, you know, his sponsorships end up paying for themselves. And he told us all about that and how much of a challenge it is. So I believe on the last show you told us that it was $120,000 that the military had offered you as a bonus. Yeah, it was something crazy. I think nowadays is 100. When I was in, it wasn't that much. Oh, but it is now. The recent re-enlistment bonuses, yeah, it's around, like, as a staff sergeant to re-enlist for another 4 years, I think you get like $100,000 bonus or $80,000, something crazy. Something that's a lot of money for me. It would be right now. Would be life-changing for me to get that right now. Yes, it'd be life-changing to have that amount of money, and to be able to say, like, oh no, I think that this is what I want to do. Like, guys, this is a huge message to listen to. Like, go towards that. Go towards that. If you're a young person, if you're an older person, it doesn't matter. You need to go towards that feeling and just not give up. And like Connor said, we always create, like, this stuff, right? We create the mistakes, we create the chaos because we don't want to succeed, or we don't believe in ourselves. And like, you need to believe in yourself fully. You need to figure out who you are, figure out what you like to do with your time, and go towards that. Because I know that if, you know, people were going to tell a young Connor, like, oh, yeah, dude, I guess you could, like, you know, when you're younger, I want to do martial arts for the rest of my life. I want to be involved. They would say, man, well, it's really hard to get into the UFC. You're not, you know, that number, you're not going to do that. And so it's really hard. So don't do it, you know. And then the kid doesn't end up doing it. You don't end up, you know, going towards it. When it's just like, oh, no, or, you know, maybe you could own a martial arts studio. Those are like the only two jobs like that I can think of off the top of my head, right? Teaching it or doing it. When in reality, you know, 6, 7, 8-year-old Connor had no clue that the UFC was going to be this giant conglomerate that's just going to be as big as the NFL and going to be as big as any major sports league, and that there's so many ancillary jobs for that. So there might be somebody who likes to fight, but you know they didn't go to they figure it out, you know, after the fact. They didn't go to the military. They went to law school. Guess what? The UFC and these fighters, they need lawyers. They need accountants. You know, there's all these things that you can do, you know, to figure out your path and to be a part of it still, and to, you know.
Exactly. I agree with you. So, like, yeah, for me, like, even if, like, so let's say something happens and I blow up my knee, and then this whole thing I've been working for the last 4 years, it goes down the drain. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean I'm gonna stop being a martial artist every day. Now I just switch my goal and readjust, and now maybe my goal is to build up somebody in my gym and make them a UFC champion. So it's like, it's not just everybody looks at this is the one thing you have and this is how we're gonna get there. You know, I think you should just follow your passions and what you're into, and then that can branch off to any, like you said, it could be anything. Maybe a lawyer for the UFC, maybe this for the UFC, whatever it is, whatever your niche is, you definitely can get yourself in that. But one thing I was gonna say is, like, it's not just like following your passion and quitting everything else. It's also about working hard. I think that's the biggest thing that everybody's like, yeah, I worked my ass off. Like like every day I wake up and I truly believe this. I don't think anybody works harder than I do, but it's easy for me to work hard in things that I love to do because it's my passion. So I think that's another key ingredient. Yes, this is all nice to say, like, just do what you love to do, but do what you love to do to the best of your ability. And that is in many assets. That's building relationships with the right people. You know what I mean? It's maybe it's a social thing that you like, I don't like that person, but that might be the best person I need to work with to get to where I need to be, so I better mend that relationship with that person. Or maybe it's helping somebody. It's just like, there's a lot of different things I think that people like look at it that are, like you said, I'm taking a pay cut or whatever, or I'm not gonna have a lot of money to go party on the weekend, or not party, but whatever, do whatever the hell I want to do with any money because I know
invest for a house.
Or invest for a house, or these other goals that you have to have in your life, right? But like, I'm taking those sacrifices to work into what I need to do. Like right now, I don't care about anything else. Like any money I get is just going right into my fight camp. You know what I mean? And I'm making that sacrifice, but that's okay for me. All right. So it's like, there's a lot of different things that go into, having your passion but you have to make sacrifices at points in your life to make that, if you really care about something.
Yeah, dude, I think you hit, like, the crux of it is, and like everybody, it's not for everybody. Someone's passion could just be working a job that they don't care about and that they don't have to like, and that they just like to make a paycheck, and they like to go to the lake with their family and do that and make money and not care how they make money.
Yeah.
That is an okay thing too, and those people exist. And so, like, but it's about, it's 100% the hard work. Like, and that's what you gotta, if you can be lucky enough, and this is something you feel like you're, a person who just, has this, you'll know it's in you. It's something that exists. So you'll constantly have a feeling that if you're not in the right place, if you're doing a job that you don't like, you'll constantly be feeling like you're not in the right place, and you're not. So if you're one of those people, then yes, explore who you are, and then figure out how to hone those skills. Yeah. So like, you had to hone skills of fighting, but you also had to hone skills of like communicating and starting this, this basement.
Stuff like this, promotions, you know what I mean? Like communicating promotions, like there's just so many different things. Teaching, like, teaching martial arts, my gym, you know what I mean? Like skills that I had to do, like to make sure I'm making an income for that. For a while when I was, we moved to mom's basement MMA, but before that I had to figure out how to make money to pay my rent for my gym every single month by doing privates. And there's so many different assets that, like, you know what I mean, that you have to figure out how to work if this is your ultimate goal, and you're gonna make sacrifices doing all those things. So it's like, in community, like right now, promotion, like, not necessarily, some people are like, if you're an introvert and you don't want to promote yourself because you don't like talking in front of people or you don't like doing that, you're going to shy away from it. But like, I know at the end of the day, this is an important part of my career is promoting, because you can be the best fighter in the world, but people don't want to come watch you fight. It doesn't really matter because nobody's going to want to pay to watch you fight. The UFC wants people in there that people want to watch fight. So you got to put yourself out there to do that, and a lot of people are scared to do that. And I think that you just have to look at the bigger picture and and do it. I think that's the little stuff that people don't understand to make people who they are in the UFC. It's all the little things they do. It's not just the sport. The sport's a big part of it, being able to perform, you know what I mean, and building your skills as an athlete and all that stuff, but there's so many other things that surround that.
So you're saying, so just make sure I'm hearing you clearly, you're saying that it has to do with all the little things that you're doing right. So like making sure that you're disciplined of waking up early every single day, make sure that you're staying strict to your diet, make sure that if you are taking a little bit of time off after a fight, it's only a little bit of time off after a fight, that you're being disciplined. Like Connor told me earlier that, and this is something that I directly relate with, because I'm doing it. I'm also building this business and building this up, and so it just takes so much time, and it has to be your focus. Like Connor told me earlier today that he doesn't really know about anything going on with sports right now, and that he doesn't watch as much sports. And it's like, I don't know, 8 years ago I could have told you, the starting, the entire rosters of every single Boston sports team, and from the the top to the bottom, and knew everything about it. And I don't care as much anymore, and I first of all, I don't have time as much, but I don't care. It's like my interests have moved on because I'm doing something that fulfills me, that I'm so fulfilled by, So like going towards that is, when you spoke on that, I was just like, that's how focused these guys are. They have to give up. If you tell a man that they have to give up their sports and gambling, they would think that all these UFC fighters are watching sports all the time and doing their thing and hanging out and being men and whatever. But like, it's not the case. You're training. You're in the gym.
Yeah, I mean, for my passions are like surfing and snowboarding and all these extreme sports that I know I love. Grew up doing that. I still love them. I mean, if I get out on the mountain, get some good rides in, I'm there. But like I know like if I do that a lot, I'm risking injury. You know what I mean? Which is going to put me out of training. So it's just like, you have to. There's like that other part of your life that you're going to have to give it up if that's what you really want. But like, I feel like, for me, the juice is worth the squeeze so far. You know what I mean? I love what I do, so it's like it's easy to make those sacrifices. So for me, some people are not willing to do that. But
well, that's how you know, though. That's how you can go more towards it, and that's how you know that you're like, you're on the path. You're on a path to be, to be in the UFC and to climb the ladder. That's what you told me your goals are.
Yep.
And people who aren't willing to make those sacrifices, they might have those same goals, but if they're not willing to make those sacrifices, they might not meet the goals, and maybe it's because they don't, I think that they want it as, I don't know, it's tough to say. They definitely want it, but like you're like, you just love martial arts and you love this life, and you're building this reality for yourself.
Yep.
And so like, I think that's, that there's so much worth in that compared to somebody who might not be doing it that way.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's I think I know I love it because when I was a little kid, I mean, I saw I'd play Ninja Turtles in the front yard, or I'd play karate in the front yard. I loved, I got in trouble when I was a kid, my mom would take away my karate. That was when I wasn't allowed to go to karate class. So it's like, it's always been, in high school it was the same thing, man. I've just found, it's just something that, almost, because when I was a kid, martial arts wasn't like, you're not going to go to high school and be like the martial arts guy in the school. That wasn't a cool thing to do. You know what I mean? You go to
martial arts letterman.
You play like hockey was like my original sport was hockey, and that's what I wanted to be in the NHL. That was my original goal, and so I went to prep schools for hockey. I went to play juniors, and I traveled all over. My parents spent I don't know how much time and money driving me all around New England, playing, you know what I mean? And which I loved hockey, and it was my passion for sure. I thought it was. I think that was just like the idea. It was like when you go to school, like this is an option. You can go to college and you can play this sport in college, and that was the option. But I always did martial arts on the side, not knowing, because the UFC wasn't a thing back then. So not knowing that this could be a viable option. And then I remember my sophomore year, I started doing MMA. The UFC started getting big. There was big fighters coming out in New England. UFC 100, I remember watching specifically. It was like GSP was like a big fighter who was like, that first time the sport really changed, that athletic, you started seeing real athletes competing and fighting. Before that, if you guys remember, like UFC 1 and up there was like guy with a boxing glove fighting a sumo wrestler, and like it was mixed martial arts by like individual mixed martial arts. So it started really becoming a sport. And then my senior year, I was a playoff hockey game. I blew out my shoulder the second shift of the game. And then that whole idea in my head, that's like all my hockey goals that I've been working for my entire life to go play college hockey just went out the window. And then so what did I do? It wasn't to go. I went into the martial arts gym, and I didn't go in the martial arts gym because I wanted to be an MMA fighter. I went to the martial arts gym because that was my place to go to when I had any issues in my life. And I did that my whole life. Like when I was a kid, if I had any issues, like in school or whatever, my brother's bullying me or something, that I got really angry and I was going to fight, my mom would bring me to the martial arts gym to work on like my anger issues or whatever. And that's always been my escape from my reality of life. And that's exactly what I did my senior year. When I blew my shoulder, I went back to the martial arts gym. But then at the same time, that's when I started seeing the fighters, and I decided right there, I was like, oh, I don't think I want to play college hockey anymore. I think I want to do this fighting thing. And then I took my first MMA fight as soon as I graduated high school, and then kind of the rest has been history. So it's like, that's how I know it's a passion for me. If I can't live without it, you know what I mean? Like I'm not happy with my life unless I'm doing it. Or introverted, I just keep on, it's something that just magnetized me back to that thing. That's when you know it's a passion for you. I think some people think they have passions, like hockey for me. I thought hockey was my passion, but it was mostly everybody telling me that's my passion because that was my direct to go to college, play hockey, and then from there, you can go to college. That's what everybody's supposed to do. That's what everybody's telling you you're supposed to do. But that's not necessarily what everybody's supposed to do. I think everybody has an inner passion. They just need to find it.
Yeah. I think, like you said, it's an inner path, and like I think you're an amazing example of this because I know from our personal conversations that you were a kid who struggled in school, who was very ADHD, was very all over the place, and just had a hard time focusing, and had special things in school, was in special ed rooms and stuff, and that is the school it's a business, right? These colleges are such a business, and there's only one path you can go, and if there's no college for being a martial arts trainer, teacher, and especially at that point, right? It was either you were gonna maybe become a boxer or like maybe go over to like Thailand and be a kickboxer or something, make a career doing it that way, but like not here in the United States, and it just wasn't possible. So they like put these narratives on us, like, you've got to be this type of person, or you're not even the narrative. This isn't anybody's fault. Like it's not like this is just how society is, and so these businesses create these programs and create then the kid just wants to become the hockey player, but it was really cool that you had the foundation of the martial arts to fall back on. It's what you kept going back to. It's what you knew.
Yep.
As a new dad, like, if your kid if you have a kid who's, in a situation like that, like somebody who is ADHD, like you were, like I was, like maybe who knows what my kid will be like, it's giving them these tools that they might have, and like, martial arts, before I had like met you and before I started doing this stuff, I don't know if I would have thought that was like it just had the same benefits that I got from yoga.
Yeah.
And it's like literally it's the same thing. It's the same type of the same type of benefit that you're working towards, where this, you're focusing on something, and you have something to fall back on to help you with your nervous system. Like it's
100%. Like I think martial arts is like, so I can give you so many examples how it kind of helps people, and I think for like military, for me, like the reason why I got back into martial arts after my military career, I had my deployment to Afghanistan. And when I came back from Afghanistan, I was struggling. I think probably talked about this on your last podcast.
Yeah.
But I was struggling, but like I just said, I did my entire life. Whenever I struggle with anything, I go back into martial arts to kind of, because it gives me that it's a place where I can go and I can shut my brain off from everything else, and I have fun and I don't think about anything else, because when you're wrestling or grappling or doing jiu-jitsu or sparring or something like that, your brain is not nowhere else besides to where you're at. So you shut off everything else that's going on and you're focused on what you got to do. And I think that's a very important thing for a lot of people to get that in any sort of fashion, you know what I mean? Maybe it's art, maybe it's whatever it is. But I think martial arts is one of the best ways to do it, because not only is it, it's the learning. I learned how to learn through martial arts, not through school. I learned techniques and everything. I learned how to want to learn through martial arts, not through school. So like even right now, I remember I was going through EMT school when I first got out, and I was like, everything I was thinking about was more like I was using martial arts to get my brain, to trick my brain to learn how to learn something. You know what I mean? Like if I'm learning about an artery or something like that, I remember that artery because that's where you choke somebody out. You know what I mean? It's like stupid stuff like that, but like that's how I used it to help myself. So like, I feel like if you really have a passion, you have to learn. If you want to get good at something, you're gonna have to learn. You're not just gonna be naturally good at it and then you're just awesome. Even all the people who are the best at whatever they do, they're still willing to go back and to learn things and relearn things, learn the basics again, learn everything again. And then, and I think that martial arts is a great tool for that. And also, it's just like the discipline it takes in every asset of your life. It's not like you just do the martial arts and then that's it. You're done. No, I have to go home. I got to eat right. I got to sleep right. I got to do yoga. You know what I mean? Do other things so I can perform back into martial arts. I do strength and conditioning so I can perform in my martial arts. I have to do all these other things that help me with martial arts. So it becomes more of a life-encompassing thing. And I feel like not other sports really do that as much. I mean, kind of, maybe football does, you know what I mean? But like there's a season and then you're off to something else, you know what I mean? Like martial arts is a continuous thing that never stops comparatively to other sports, I feel like. So, but you know, if you really care about something, I guess it probably becomes life encompassing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it definitely becomes life encompassing, and you know, but
your passion is this, right? This is life encompassing. I'm sure you make a lot of sacrifices to make sure. Probably you learned how to put up these walls because you want to make a good podcast. You have to learn little things that you wouldn't want to learn because you want your ultimate goal to happen. You know what I mean?
100%. And I didn't actually put up these walls.
But just an example.
I know. I just want to, but I do want to give credit to the proprietor of the space, the Rebel House, where we do our podcast. We are very much so, a part of this, for sure. We're of it. No, you are giving me credit. Compliments all day, baby, and that's a giddy up. I just want to make sure that I'm giving credit to Rebel House and to, to Scott Millett, who started this and created this space. And,
very cool.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it is. It's a co-creation space. It's a co-creating space, and that's what we're helping him co-create it, and that's the giddy up. But to your point, it wasn't building walls. It was learning how to become a podcaster, learning how to edit video, learning how to get the stuff
1,000%.
simple, like 1,000 things that you would never have to think about. Like most people start podcasting and then they stop. Yeah. Because it's really hard, and they get on and they do it, and they're like, oh, this is so fun, and then they get the footage and they get it back, and it's like, yeah, well, you have to do all this all this work now, to edit the video and to post it and to get people excited about it, to actually get people to listen to it, to get people to show up and to come to an event. So there's all these challenges that you have to make all these sacrifices, and I love it. I love it. I love every second of it. Not that I don't get stressed and not that things aren't hard sometimes, but if you continuously try to create the reality that you want to live in, you will get that happiness. You will feel good. And I think what I'm learning from us talking right now, and I'm just thinking this right now, but it's for this specific thing, for me, because of that, that ADHD and the relationship that I have with my, my dopamine, and it's like I need to be really interested in something to do it, to give my all, and then I'm gonna give everything that I have. But if it's like if I'm not that interested in it, it's just like I couldn't care to even this is hard. It's I have no interest in it. Mm-hmm. So it's like you kind of have to force yourself, and so like with pharmacy, for instance, pharmacy was like very interesting to me. It was interesting to me about learning about the drugs and doing that, and I was able to focus on that part of it. But actually doing pharmacy, it's not what you think it is. So it's a suck job, and it's like that's not. I can't be like that. That's horrible. I don't want to do that with my time. And so I was I noticed this early on in my schooling, but I just kept trying to think okay, there's another job in pharmacy that I can do. I just need to get a new job in pharmacy. I need to be in pharma. I need to be in this and that. And I kept kind of finding out that I'm always searching for stuff that I care about, and it's generally has to do with helping people be well, and having talking about my journey, and communicating with people and showing people that this is like the way through, is to have, to have conversations and like to learn from each other and give each other the grace to go back and forth. And you may not agree on everything, but like I had to, that's what I wanted to do, and that's to go towards that. Has just been it's been enlightening, and it's not without challenges, and it's not without everything else. But it's like I feel that because I'm that extra, I need that extra bit of happiness. Maybe that's why I'm like that. I'm not sure if because you're obviously like that as well. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if everybody here feels would feel the same way. But we all have our, because my brother, my brother is like, he can work a job, and he can do it, he doesn't have to love his job. As long as he makes enough good money and he can do his thing on the side and live his life, he's completely happy. He's completely fulfilled.
And there's nothing wrong with that, too.
Nothing wrong with it at all.
I don't like to say like you have to be this person that has, like, you want to be a UFC fighter, or you want to be a whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, some people like and don't mind working a job so they can go do what they want on the weekends, or travel, or snowboard. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's just you know what I mean? I don't know, but there's nothing wrong with that kind of lifestyle. It's not for me, but it's nothing, like, I think it's really important for something. Like, my brother's the same way. My brother works, I don't know what he does, to be honest, but he does something with numbers and gas. That's all I know. Accountant or something like that. I know he went to school to be an accountant, but I don't think he does that anymore. But at the end of the day, he has his family, and he gets to snowboard all the time. He gets to golf all the time. He gets to do his passions in the way that he likes to do it, and he loves life. So it's like, that's great. I'm happy for him. You know what I mean? So it's like, some people want to work those jobs so they can do what they want to do. So is that. I have a question to you about the pharmaceutical stuff.
Yeah.
So like, you went to school to be for pharmacy, right? Mm-hmm. And after you didn't find a job you really were passionate about, right? After you went to the school. So what now what you learned from all that, they said it's all about being well, right? You know what I mean? So like, what do you find now? Is like physical activity the best way to be well? Is it, what kind of medicine? Like, what is the overall arching things in life? You know what I mean? What do you think is the most important thing for you to be well? And did you find that because of pharmaceutical school? Would you be where you were at if you didn't go to pharmaceutical school?
It would be different. I don't know where I would be. I like to think that this is my path, so I would always end up here. I don't know if wouldn't be right here, but I like to think that my passion is podcasting and talking to people and having this and doing this and creating this. So I'd like to think that I would have still gotten to this point at somehow it would have looked a lot different than this. But it definitely wouldn't be the same, and I'm grateful that I went. Even though I'm not using my degree, I'm very grateful that I went to this school, and I learned, because I grew up, my mother was a nurse, and that generation, learned, allopathic medicine was the go. You wanted to, meaning like, use traditional medicine, using pills pills and other, therapies to cure things and to treat things. That was just how it was.
Western medicine, really.
Exactly, kind of Western medicine. And so exactly what that's probably what it says in the dictionary, Western medicine. And so I thought that was what was the best thing ever. If I had a headache, my mom gave me Advil, and it made me feel a little bit better. So I was like, okay, this is great. I didn't realize that was tearing apart my stomach, potentially affecting my kidneys, So I then went to school, and I kind of learned about some of this stuff, but the way that stuff is taught to you, you have one slide at the end of every, 55, 60 slide, sheet, one page that just has about the, the alternative treatments, the holistic stuff that you can do. Yeah. The lifestyle modifications is what they might call them.
Yep.
There was one slide about that, and then everything else was about the pharmacology and about the, the side effects and about the drugs. Instead of being like, okay, we understand that we have these, you had one class that you could take as an elective for, for holistic, herbal medicine, and it's like, well, I just, the pharmaceutical companies, they're very tied in with the schools, and they fund a lot of this stuff that goes on, and it's not completely bad, but there's an indoctrination that's happening that, that it's not actually really, and this is what I figured out, that's not really helping people entirely be well.
Totally agree.
Some therapies, pharmaceuticals, like, maybe 10 to 15% of them are great. Like, it's incredible that,
I have two things I want to say. Before we get into that, because I'd love to talk to you about that stuff, because I just watched that documentary on, it's actually a show on Netflix, Painkiller. Do you see that? So it kind of talks about all this stuff, and it's really interesting. But one thing I just want to say, like, sometimes, like, you have to do something you hate to realize that you hate something, to come back to do something that you love. Like, I realized, not that I didn't hate being a combat controller. I loved being in the military, and I loved becoming a combat controller. I'm not saying that, but I hate not doing my martial, and I hated not pursuing my dream.
Your passion.
So my passion. So, like, with you, it's not that you hated probably pharmacy that much. You liked it. You find it interesting. Like, you're still kind of doing it in a sort of a way, right? But sometimes you have to go do something else, you know what I mean, to realize what your passion is, to go back and do something that you love. So like a lot of people are probably sitting there like they're like stuck in a rut doing something that they don't like right now, but they maybe you have to go through that to do what you love. That being said, I'm all done with that. But pharmaceutical-wise, like, yeah, man, it's just, I think that there's a big problem in society, I think in corporations and in pharmaceutical drugs, because I feel like the best, most healthiest people I know who are not doing any drugs or whatever are people that are using holistic lifestyle. Not even, I'm not saying you have, like, plant medicine is great. I mean, I think that's great. I think there's we're making a lot of headway in that overall, and I know it helps a lot of my veteran friends, and it's a big part of my community now, way better than drinking alcohol, way better than, you know, guys struggling with like stuff that are, you know, people using psilocybin for PTSD, MDMA, marijuana, you know what I mean? Helping these guys out in a lot safer way than, you know, these pharmaceutical drugs that I think that I've kind of had a grip on this country for the last, 30, 40 years, probably more than that, right? You know what I mean? Really tearing, probably longer, man. And I was watching that Painkiller documentary. It was just mind-blowing to see, you know, what they're basically selling heroin to people. You know what I mean? So, and it sucks because for you, like you say, like you did that, and you probably could made a lot of money being a pharmacist, right? There's a ton of, you went through 4 years of school, you sacrificed all that time, all that hard work, and you get to the end, and you just really thought to yourself that you're not helping people by prescribing them drugs. And I feel like that it's really cool, and I appreciate you that, you know, to take a whole different stance on this and push like this holistic, better way of, you know, living life and through yoga and healthy method. And like, I feel like all those drugs, they don't fix the problem, they fix symptoms at short time, and they cause more problems. So, I mean, it's to me, it's so obvious, you know what I mean? And it just blows my mind that, like, you know, where we're at in a society in this country, that like people just keep getting, you know, you listen to everything I hear, and I'm not saying taking away from how smart doctors are, because I'm a kid who didn't go to college, and you know what I mean? Like, I'm a MMA fighter, so who the hell is that? Who I know, but it's just like, it's like you listen to your doctor and that's it. If the doctor prescribes it, that's it, because he knows it's like, I don't necessarily know that. Like he's still a human being. We're all freaking human. We're all monkeys here. You know what I mean? It's crazy that people, there's just so much trust in that doctor because he's a doctor. Yeah. It's like, but who's that doctor being backed by? Who's that hospital being backed by? Who's that? You know what I mean? It's a lot of money to be made too.
There's a lot of money to be made, and you know, with healthcare, it's you know, it's people want to be well. That's really what they want to do, and that's like why I thought, you know, pharmacy was really cool at first, because it was how I found wellness when I was younger. I didn't know that I should. You know, like I was always playing outside and playing all these sports, but I wasn't making the connection that stuff was like really for wellness. I was just doing that because I liked to do it, and it was something to do. And you know, I thought when I was, you know, sick or needed wellness, it was to the pills.
Yep.
And like you know, I appreciate you for, you know, for realizing, you know, like, you know, the situation, because there is a lot of money to be made in pharmacy, and I know that a lot of my friends are trapped in that now. You know, they have a great job, and they're very, you know,
and families to support.
Families,
You know what I mean? It's an ever-going cycle. You know what I mean? You're gonna be like, oh, I can't do this because I don't believe in this, but like I got kids that want to play sports. I got this. You know what I mean? There's like, I understand. How are you gonna say no to that?
How are you gonna say no to that, man?
You know what I mean?
You know, you got these kids, especially when you have one. You know, you want to give them everything, and
exactly.
If money does, you know, money's not everything, but it helps. You know, you need money. You need money to live and to give your, you know, kids opportunity, and to, you know, to be comfortable in life. And you know, that is something that, you know, when you're, at least first when you're building a company and you're giving a job, you know, up of a doctorate degree level, you know, salary, that is a challenge to overcome at first. And like I don't regret the pharmacy school. I don't regret that I'm still paying, quite a bit in loans. I do think that that's a bunch of fucking horseshit.
Yeah.
You shouldn't, school should never have been that expensive
Yeah.
for anyone, and will likely be, maybe it will keep getting worse and the world will, blow up, but
it can't, I don't
for it
understand,
to
it
be
just doesn't make
sustainable.
sense.
Yeah, it's not sustainable. So like for it to actually be, if we do get some, real solid change, it's like people will be able to get an education for something that they're not going to be paying off a mortgage for, their whole life, and that's, so that's ridiculous. But regardless, I'm grateful of the degree that I have, and it's, it's helped me become, who I am, and on this journey, it's given me so much, additional perspective, and knowing, this is what I need to do. I might not have ever, that's why I said it would have been different. I would have been talking to people, maybe I would have been talking to them about sports, and then, 10 years down the road, I would have realized that, oh shit, no, I need to actually be talking about wellness.
Yeah.
I would have eventually found this, because I know that it is what I want to be talking about and helping us, because I've gone through so many iterations and so many cycles of who I was as a person. I was depressed. I was sick, I was fat, and all these different periods, sometimes at the same time, some at different times, and I've had to find ways, to get to wellness, and I shouldn't even say fat, I guess that's like a bad word, I was obese, I had too much weight on me,
It's fat.
It was fat, I was fucking fat,
So
and I was
why do we have to say things out of there,
You're
that's
right,
not what
you're
it
right,
is.
you're right.
You literally have fat cells, extra fat cells on your
right,
body,
exactly.
so you're fat.
100%.
It's okay to be fat.
Yeah.
And it can go away, but some people are fat.
Some people are fat, and I was fucking fat, and so
We don't have to go beat around the bush on
You're
that
right.
one.
You don't have to be politically
It's your
correct
show,
about
bro.
it. Giddy up, baby. Giddy up. I love it. I love it. And so, no, 100%. And it's like, I don't want to, to fat shame anybody, and I don't think that we should be, we should do that. But that's not saying the word fat. It's not doing that. So I am I was so big, and it was because of my ability not to have good mental health and to not have a foundation of knowing that there's good food to eat in there's not that, it's not readily available to us.
Well, we say, school, what are we learning in school these days? Like nutrition, first of all, the nutrition that we learned in school is completely wrong from when I went through the pyramid thing that we had. It was just completely wrong, right? And it was just it's just what they're teaching us. It was never set up. We were never set up for success. We're set up for a system that you have to go to school so you can go to college. Right there, business, money. College is making money. You know what I mean? And then you go to college so you can become a teacher or work for the pharmaceutical companies or work for something that go back into some money going to the same people's pocket. It's all just a system. They're not teaching people how to do their taxes. They're not teaching people how to do, basic life skills. Cook food, you got a little bit of cooking food, but I feel like there's just so many different things that that you need to learn when you get out of high school that you don't have those skills to just live a normal good life, that they just don't teach you. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Another thing is I don't know why I'm going the school thing, but I just think schools is all completely 100% backwards. They do after school activity is you go to school all day, and you wake up, you go in the morning, you go there, you sit in a class all day, so you're freaking kids with ADHD, you're squirming and thing. Why not make the kids get to school and make the kids play sports right away? So by the time they get done playing sports, they're freaking, you know what I mean? All their energies are expended, and they can sit in school and they can actually focus and learn something because they wasted all their energy. Why do we do it backwards? It doesn't make any sense. So usually when kids are squirming around, they get home, and then all of a sudden they're on the bus to go home, and you know what I mean? It's just everything they did, and I feel like I learned in school, I didn't use anything. I didn't literally learn anything and remember anything from any of my school my entire life. I learned all the things I learned after school when I joined the military. I basically had to teach myself how to learn and study in the military, because they could say it was survival. Because if I didn't do that, I worked my ass off to not get washed out, whatever. If I got washed out, I had to do some job I hated, you know what I mean? And so it was survival for me to, and that's what ADHD people do is unless they're hyper-focused or they're not focused at all, right? It's extreme of one or extreme of the other. And so I was just hyper-focused on learning, and I learned how to learn. But it put me in that life or death kind of, not life or death, but life or death for me at that time in my head scenario for me to figure out how to learn. And I feel like there's could have been so many different ways that that could have been avoided earlier in my life, but we're all just slaves to this big system. you know, the way we've been doing things for, you know what I mean, for whatever, the past 100, 200 years, whatever it is, you know what I mean? So
If I had,
I don't know, I'm going on a rant today.
well, if I had one of my teachers, someone who I looked up to,
I had great teachers too.
yeah, I had great teachers. The teachers are all great. They're amazing. It's all the system. It's the system that they're perpetuating because they were in that system too. And so it's no one's at fault besides maybe a few people. But it's like, you know, we need to just figure out a way to, you know, to get us out of the system and how to kind of to grow from it. But it's like if I had a teacher come up to me and explain to me like, oh, hey, Steve, the reason that people did yoga for hundreds of thousands of years, you know, thousands of years, was because we weren't able to meditate because we have these fucking rascal minds,
Yeah.
you know, that always want to think about 1,000 different things. We never want to be present. So what the reason we do yoga, the reason yoga is a practice, is because, you know, the movement practice of it is so that you can get yourself to a point where you can meditate, where you can think, where your best learning is done. And this is like stuff that's proven scientifically. You know, we can show the brain waves. We can show all this, that this is when you're getting to the best point of learning is when your nervous system isn't stressed out and you have exerted your energy and you've created this healthy life and you're not a person who is unhealthy. And the fact that we're not like cultivating this within our
Society,
classes, in our society by teaching this at schools is bonkers to me. It's absolutely bonkers. And it's scary. It's scary because we went through it, but I think it's, you know, maybe it's getting worse too. So it's like we got to figure out a way here to switch the system up a little bit.
I agree 100%. Like, how many people use algebra today?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying you don't need to learn how to do algebra. Math is very important. I think it's definitely something you got to learn, but it's just like, I feel like, you know, there's a lot of other things that's more important for people to learn that we should be knocking out instead of kind of just wasting time.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And I think algebra is not the best example.
But what's somebody think of something? I don't know.
Right, exactly. Someone think of something. But yes, it's the fact that you leave high school and that they teach you all the algebra, but you can't balance a checkbook. You know nothing about taxes. You know nothing about the tax structure.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's bullshit.
Yeah.
So like you should know coming out of high school, like, oh hey, this is why, you know, this is what the tax structure is. This is why the corporations like Amazon pay zero in federal taxes. Like, you should know all this stuff so that you also can take advantage of the system like other people are doing.
100%.
But instead, that's not what happens. They get, we indoctrinate each other and ourselves into just thinking that we need to, and that I don't even know. I think it's a pretty wild place right now out there because all the school boards are all different, and people realize that like local elections matter and school boards matter, and so that I think there's a big fight for that right now, and I hope everything settles, and it settles to a point where we're getting kids healthy food. Like, that's the other thing too. Give kids healthy food. Give them fucking free lunch. Free healthy fucking lunch.
There we go.
Like we are the richest fucking nation in the world. Chicken patties, pizza, all this bullshit, and like, dude, I just saw in Vermont they're giving free lunches away to everybody, which I think is great. Everybody should be able to.
My mom's a lunch lady too, so it's like, so I still see the school lunches because every once in a while she'll like bring home something from the school lunches. I'm like, I literally I had chicken patties the other day. My dog wouldn't even eat it. Dude. I literally get a chicken patty in the fridge. Try to give it to my dog, and he's like, I don't want that. So I was like,
no,
dude,
thanks.
It's like,
feed it to the third grader.
Exactly. And you're feeding these to kids when they're developing their brains and like
they don't know any better.
Parts of their lives where they're growing. You know what I mean? That's another thing. And then we can go talk about food in this country as well. I just think that why do I have to pay more money for food that has less things done to it?
Yeah, right. It's wild, and why you have all these regulations that create it so you can't get this food, and like if you're gonna regulate it, then regulate it to the right way and get people healthy food.
One thing I noticed whenever I traveled, even like Africa or even Afghanistan, honestly, like the food was actually really good in Afghanistan because they're making it there. You know what I mean? They're picking up all this. They go down to the market every single day to get back. They make their naan bread, and it's delicious. Yeah. Spain. All the food is made from like local. Now
they save the seeds from the vegetables from the year before and then plant them in the ground instead of just having them these genetically created seeds that are that are going to just be planted to be monocropped across the thousands of acres.
And then now you're giving more jobs too. Now every local business every local farmer is going to have a business because they're not outsourcing to these big giant, what is the name of those big companies, those big farm companies? Monsanto, there we go, those evil ones. So it's like, that now people across the entire country have all these small, big local businesses that are actually flourishing because they're feeding their villages and feeding their towns, and everybody's a lot more healthier and doing way better. And over here it's like you have to go to a store, a specific, not even, and like if you live out in the middle of nowhere, there's not a Whole Foods, you know what I mean? You have a Shaw's or whatever, a Stop and Shop, and you have to pay extra money, to buy organic anything. So it's just, I think that's another huge scam in our country that's causing. And what is it doing? It's making people sick, which is what else is going to do, is going to cause people to pay more money to heal themselves from being sick, which with our
pharmaceuticals.
It's just a big, you know what I mean? It's sad.
The big cycle, they're all in bed together. But the good news is there is more of us.
Yeah, I think we're waking up. I think so, as a society, I'm talking about it, and like, what do I know? So it's like, I'm sure everybody else, a lot of people out there are starting to realize that. So, and I think, for me as a fighter, like I get a lot of attention, so like I think that's something that I want to, kind of like healthy decide, like. Honestly, I've been lucky. In my entire life is like when I was a kid, my aunt told me that there was worms in the fast food. So I kind of like always kept myself away, and I wasn't really a sugars and sweets kind of person, and I kind of like ate healthy, and then I kind of got obsessed with that, because being an athlete, I've heard things about being healthy, got to eat good, and then. So I was lucky, but I just know how good I feel all the time, and I just want to share that with other people. I think people just get stuck in a rut because they don't know, you know what I mean? So I feel like me being what I'm doing now is, I get a lot of attention for that. So maybe I could just show people that it's not that hard to, change your life to make yourself a lot better by just changing a little bit what you eat, man. And like for others, a lot of food, like I don't even crave the bad food anymore. You know what I mean? Like it's like I look at that and I don't even look at it as food. If I see like a cereal box, that's not even an option in my head. Even I don't care, I'm just not gonna eat that. Because I look at the back of it, if it has like more than 5 ingredients in it, I ain't eating that shit. You know what I mean? Like what is that? So I think that, I hopefully if I get a platform out there that I can, start showing people, just how to live a better lifestyle, which is gonna, for me, help people by knocking people out.
Yeah. Exactly. It's twofold for you. I love it. It's twofold. It's gonna help them being better when you're getting ready to knock them out too.
By giving them CTE.
Yeah, exactly right. No, man, it's the food thing and like knowing how. You go to a different country, and you said that in the last show too. It's like it's 100% spot on.
Yeah.
And like if you like show people, for me, I was like I said, I was fucking fat, and so I was big, and what happened is I didn't even go on a weight loss journey. I just spoke about this recently, and I've talked about it on other podcasts, before. I didn't mean to go on the weight loss journey. I started to eat, I started to go to yoga, and what you asked me earlier, what I thought like the most important thing about being well is, and like what the biggest thing, and another thing we spoke about recently on a show with a guest was like, any type of physical exercise is the number one foundation of what you want. Because once you start doing the physical foundation, you give yourself the physical exercise, the martial arts for you, maybe it's yoga for me, and lifting weights for other people, or a mixture of both, which is likely what it should be. It then bleeds into other aspects of your life because you feel so good because of that little bit of weightlifting and what you're doing, or the yoga, or the fighting, or the martial arts. That then gives you the ability to say, I'm going to eat healthy too, because I'm going to feel even fucking better than I did, yesterday. And I know that eating healthy, I know when I was eating, that's the thing for me, man. I have such a relationship with food. When I eat it, it makes me feel like, I know that I'll feel like shit. My partner, she always gets mad at me because I'm always I'll eat something and I'll regret it immediately afterwards and say, fuck, I was stupid. I shouldn't have eaten that, because I know in an hour, 2 hours, tomorrow morning, I'm going to feel like shit. And so I would do that for a while. And finally I got to a point, and sometimes I'll still do that, but I've gotten to a point now where I felt so good for so long eating healthy that I changed my nervous system. And that's really what it comes down to, is we're just trying to survive. We're trying to feel good. And like, you know, for me, food was a dopamine hit. It made me feel comfortable. It was something that I knew. And so I went towards it. And I wasn't able to, you know, it's so insidious in this, you can feel, you know, that's how people can walk around and be 550 pounds and how can that person feel? Your body just gets used to it because our main goal is for us to survive. We're going to survive at all costs, no matter what. And so your nervous system will adapt. And, you know, even though you'll feel like shit, you can still move forward and you don't know what it is like to feel better. And so, like, once you start to feel better and you give yourself that commitment, you know, a month, 2 months at the gym, like, everything is just going to start to fall into place. You're going to start sleeping better. You're going to start eating healthier. Just start making better choices in your life. You're probably going to start drinking as much, which is a huge thing for people.
Yeah, that's another one. Is alcohol. Is how accepted it is in our society. It's a part of society, and I love. And don't get me wrong, man. I like having beers and I love drinking, but I just feel like it's just like so bad for you that people don't even realize how bad it is for them because they do it. It's like, what do you do on the weekends? Everybody, like everybody I know drinks like on the weekends because that's just what we do. That's what's everything's marketed towards, you know what I mean? You go to a football game, you go to this, like you're getting beers and you're watching the game, right? And it's just like, even that casual, for me, because now that I've been in fight camp, I stopped drinking 100% when I'm in fight camp. And I can feel, if I had like 2 beers, I feel that through the week. It's poison. Even like, I'm not drinking to get drunk. It's not about drinking to get drunk. It's like you're still putting that poison in your body. It's poison, like comparatively to all this other stuff, all these other medicines we have, like other things that make you feel good. Like it just doesn't make sense to me, especially if you drink a lot and you wake up the next day, it's the worst feeling. Think about how sick people get if they drink a lot and waking up, but they continuously go back to doing it. Like that's not good for you. It's bad for you. Like nothing should make you feel that bad if you're gonna take it. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I feel like that's another thing. It's just a societal thing that like, but you can drink and you know what I mean? And there's no laws against that, but like, something else out there, you know what I mean?
Imagine another drug that
helps you. You know what I mean?
Like another drug that we just like openly, that people were that like
opens up brain pathways.
We've all had we've all had hangovers and we've all had these really hard bad hangovers, and like to think that like that's the legal drug.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
And something like mushrooms, psilocybin, that just you don't have
that's
a hangover
illegal,
for.
Federally
that's federally illegal. Like guys, we know that the system is messed up, and a lot of the stuff is starting to change.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
And something that I think we can get into. Is so fight camp. So you've started fight camp, and that so I want to know like when did this fight camp? Because you're fighting October 10th. So Connor's on the show because he's going to be fighting on the Contender Series. Giddy up, baby, giddy up. He's going to be fighting on the Contender Series on October 10th.
Yep.
And we. Shit, I lost my. The crowd got me so excited. Psilocybin, yeah. So I want to talk about your fight camp, when you started your fight camp, how what that looks like, and some of the techniques that you might be using within it.
So for me, fight camp really comes down to like I train. My schedule doesn't change from when I'm in fight camp and when I'm in fight camp. Like I just do the same. It's always all the same. I'm training the same amount because not only because I'm on a team, and like if I'm not getting ready for a fight, it's not fair. Those guys help me get ready for my fight for the last 8 weeks, whatever it's been. So after I get out and if I'm not there to help them get ready for their fights, I mean that's not what a team is all about. A team's helping out That's why I said another thing about MMA, which is really weird compared to other sports. Like you're on a team sport, but like in a team sport, you guys all get you win the game. You guys are all working to win the game. So it's like you guys all there's personal interest for you guys to work hard for that, to win that thing. For MMA, it's weird because you have to help somebody else win. You don't get anything out of that guy winning his fight, right? So it's like you kind of raise a whole nother level of teamwork. You know what I mean? I feel like it's actually more close-knit teamwork than comparatively to other sports. But that being said, back to answer your questions. As I usually do an 8-week fight camp. That means for me it's sparring. That's the only thing. I don't spar as much outside of my fight camp. If I do, it's not hard. It's just nice and light because we only get one head and one brain. I'm trying to avoid not get hit. I mean, I proved to myself and I prove to people that I can take a punch. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't need to get hit, you know, all the way through my life. It really doesn't bring too much. If anything, it diminishes. The more you get hit, the more Is
that one of us? Bear with us for a second here, folks. We're grabbing some new batteries. Thank God we have the combat controller. You know, he's definitely dealt with some radio frequency stuff beforehand. He'll pop those suckers right back in here. Oh, cool.
So what was I saying? I was
Call each other. Hello, Connor. Connor, Steve.
Got you, Lima Charlie. Help me.
Giddy up, giddy up.
Tango, tango, over.
Tango, tango, giddy up. I wouldn't be good in the military because I would keep just saying giddy up all the time. People are like, what the fuck is this guy saying? Why is he giddy up?
That's my call sign in the military is tango, tango.
Tango, tango.
So my last name is Matthews, and there was another Matthews on my team. He had one T and I had two T's. So they used to call me 2 T's was my nickname. But if I was on the radio, we can't use our names when we're talking to each other. So I'd say Tango Tango, which is the phonetic alphabet is 2 T's. So, but anyways.
I love it. Tango Tango. My son's
Tango.
name is Emmett, and we were tasked with spelling it with 1 T or 2 T's, and we decided 2 T's.
Two
Tango
T's.
Tango.
Yeah, 2 T's. Tango Tango.
It's a giddy up.
It is giddy up. So what was I talking about? I forgot. You guys remember? Fight camp.
Fight camp. Yep, you're not sparring because you want to
Sparring,
protect,
I don't want to get
your
hit.
head.
So when I get into fight camp, yeah, obviously as we get closer to the fight, our sparring intensifies. Like honestly, probably only 2 to 3 weeks out as when I start getting my real rounds, where like, you know, they're kind of scheduled rounds. I know who I'm going to spar with, you know, specific guys. I'm working on specific styles. I'm doing, you know, that's what fight camp changes. Is just like I'm working specific things for my camp. You know, for my opponent. So I'm working on whatever we think our game plan is and all that. Intensifies, just a little bit harder training. Diet is a big thing. Is like now I'm losing weight, so I got to focus on my diet a little bit more. If when I'm not in fight camp, I just eat everything. I mean, I eat healthy, but I eat everything in sight. You know what I mean? It's just and then that's basically it, man. I do drink every once in a while when I'm at a fight camp, but not much because, like I said, I have to go back into the gym and train and help guys anyway. So it's like when I drink, I'm hurting that week. You know what I mean? Like it's not even. I'm 30, 31 years old. Like Danny said, I'm old. Whatever. I'm not old. Like
Bring it.
Sorry, I was serving the country for 6 years, but
my bad. My bad. Just saving lives over there.
Yeah, so that's basically it, man. It just comes a little bit more focused. That's it. Other than that, it's the same. I'm in training every single day. I used to always talk about psilocybin. I use psilocybin for sparring. I've been doing that for a while.
Okay. And I want to get into this, but before we talk about that, because it's such a good topic.
Yep.
I want to speak to the fact about how you talked about the teammates and how it's such a more of a it's a different type of teammate. You know, and 100% it is. You have to really be you're more all in.
Yeah.
Because, you have to be way more all in. Even in this case, like guys that you train with, they fight in the same weight class as you. It's like these are actually your direct competitors, and the goal, not necessarily. Excuse me, they're going for the same goal you are.
We have the same goal at the end of the day. Yeah.
That's why it's a giddy up for you guys.
Yep.
You guys want to be a top 15 fighter, top 10 fighter in the world.
Yep.
And like some of the guys that you spar with already are that.
Yep.
So like getting to that point, like it's really a really cool thing. That takes place,
yep.
and that you guys are able to do that, and especially with like men, because like a lot of times we're not able to overcome this bullshit, and we can't help each other that way if it's not directly helping us. But to foresee that like, oh no, this is helping me because I'm doing this for him. And having the trust, he's gonna do it for me.
Yep.
When it's my turn and when I'm getting ready for my fight, he's gonna show up for me.
Yep.
And you found that with your team.
Yeah. I think I'm super grateful. I trained with the New England Cartel, which was Rob Font, Calvin Cater, Tyson Chartier, Tom Pags. Chris Montino. These are UFC fighters up in New England, and like this is my first camp, second camp. My last one was for the Dana White's looking for a fight, but it's my first year of training with that team, and it's been like, I mean, we kind of, Coach Tyson always talks about is like, you know, we got to show up to train for each other, because that's like, we have to, that's the only way we can push the limits of what we are doing around here. So it's like, it's very important, man. It's like, it's selfless, you know what I mean? Like, it's not just like responding, like I'm knocking these guys. We're punching each other in the head. We're giving each other CTE for like, you know what I mean, for his career. So it's like, I think it's the most selfless kind of teammate that you can possibly have. Comparatively, and that's even honestly compared to even the military. You know what I mean? I mean, military, we were pretty like it was a different kind of team. Like you're putting your life on the line for each other, so you're willing to die for each other. I feel that, but it's like, you know, but like at the end of the day, we're doing it because we know he would do it for me to get ourselves home, right? It still has that personality. Like I'm doing it. We're doing this one for, you know what I mean, for like, for him to accomplish his goal.
For him to accomplish his goal, exactly. Yeah. That's why all these guys right now are showing up for you and sparring with you, you know, not letting you, but you know, but you know, them being knocked out, you know, is happening, and all this stuff, choking them out, you know, doing all this stuff. Guys, guess what? Even when you're in the UFC, Conor already said it. Getting fucking punched. Some guys might like it. Getting punched in the face fucking sucks.
Yeah.
It fucking sucks. Like you said that to me last time. Like it sucks. It's always gonna suck. Getting choked out till you go unconscious. That sucks too. You know, getting put in an arm bar where you feel like your arm's gonna go the other direction from fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't try to get hurt. No,
you don't try.
Nobody tries to get hurt.
Yeah.
I mean.
But even if you're not getting hurt, it still sucks to have to, you know, to go through some of that pain. It's still, these guys still feel pain, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's human.
Everyone's human.
I mean, that's the end of the day, and that's the, you know what I mean. It's like.
So to still do that with those guys is huge. And so do you you know, do for the, you know, for like the specific fight fans out there, like, so you're right now you're sparring with you know, with Calvin?
Yeah. So
I know he was hurt beforehand.
Yeah, he had a year off. He got hurt in his last fight. He tore his ACL, so he's finally back into camp. Rob Font too. So like my sparring rounds last week, I had 2 rounds of Calvin Cater, 2 rounds of Rob Font, and a round with a Tom Pag. So 5 fights with like, and those are top 5 guys in the world. And recently, within the last year, I think they're both at one point ranked top 5 and top 6. So it's like, you know, this is the best possible dudes I can get with and to get ready for my fight. And it's been, you know, it's been unreal for me. It's been a game changer. So super excited to get out there and do what I got to do for my next fight.
And that's a huge difference from when you went out there the first time, because this is going to be your second time on the Contender Series. The first time, you know, you went in there and you know you had a war, and you know went to a decision, and you know ultimately you lost. But you know, even after that fight, you know, it was still, Dana was still saying, let's go, this kid has something, and that's obviously why he came out to see you in Boston when you were the main event of that event at Combat Zone.
Yeah.
So like, you know, to see it, you know, to see where it's going is, you know.
Yeah, it's been. I mean, we're going in the right direction, right? You know what I mean? Even though, like, I mean, setbacks. I've had setbacks, and I think that's another thing I learned from it is like setbacks are going to be a realistic part of it, you know, the journey for everything. And like, I mean, I think I started really getting my setbacks when I was in the military career. And I failed dive school, I failed air traffic control school, I failed the 2 hardest schools in the whole pipeline. And when you fail it there, you have to get washed back weeks. So months. So I have to restart from that portion of training like months, and you have to go through all the hard running, all the hard whatever things they do, you know, like basically torture, right? And then you have to, you know, go back through that, getting drowned in the pool. I had to go through that. So it's like, for me, it's like, you know, I think setbacks, you know, it's just a part of life, and I think you can't let those things, you know, cause you to quit. And I feel like that's, you know, every single time I've had a setback, I've always came back stronger and better, and that's what I did my last year for Dana White's Contender Series. I had a big setback, but I'm coming back stronger and better. I'm just going to keep doing that. So I don't mind that. It doesn't even scare me. If I lose, I don't care, because I'm just going to come back and do it again, because until I can't fight anymore. Until that's it. I don't give a shit about the UFC. Like I want to fight in the UFC, but if I lose, I don't give a shit. I'm just gonna keep going back because this is my passion, and I'm just gonna come back again and do it again. If you know what I mean. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do because this is what I love to do.
Yeah, dude. Exactly. That's what this like whole episode has been about. Is like you're going towards that no matter what, and I think that speaks to it. Like you said, that's why I think don't think anything. That's why I know you're going to win. You know, that's why I know you're going to accomplish your goals and get where you want to go in your life, because you're already doing it. So like to have this mindset, I think, is such an advantage, and that's like a lot about what you're talking about today. This mindset, having this mindset of you know, being disciplined and doing everything you need to do, but also knowing that, like, I love waking up and doing this every single day of my life, and that's the giddy up.
Yep.
It doesn't, the results don't matter, and like, you know, you told me that you learned through failure, you know, so you said in the last episode, you learned through these failures, so like, guess what? You know, you might have said it was a setback. I wouldn't call it a setback. I'd call it just the next step in Connor Matthews' story.
Yep.
On the journey to becoming, you know, who you are. Yep.
100%. And a setback on the scorecards or whatever you want, but it's, and for me, is probably the biggest, most valuable lesson, which is a win.
A valuable lesson.
Which is a giddy up.
Which is a giddy up, because you handled this last time, right? You knew how you went about training for that fight. You knew what you did.
Yep.
You know, and so like, you know, one of the things, you know, you went out there, you know, the UFC the flight was on Tuesday. You know,
Saturday, and I fought on Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. You fought on Tuesday. They flew you out there on a Saturday.
Yeah.
You know, you just went out there to Vegas. It's your first time at the Apex Center. The lights are on. You know, maybe a little bit different than Plymouth at Cage Titans. You know, of course. Is there a crowd? Is there an audience at these Contender Series?
There is, but there's not a lot. There's like, you know what I mean?
It's probably just like select people that Dana invites or something.
Literally a couple bleachers, I think. That's
okay, cool.
Yeah.
So it's not like a ticketed event necessarily?
Nope.
Cool, okay. But you're still fighting in front of some people, so there's some of that energy there. Yeah, there's some people there.
Yeah, there's some energy, you know what I mean? This time I'm going to be lucky, you know, I think Calvin and Rob are going to be out there as well. Terrence McKinney, I talked to him, he might be showing up. He has a fighting that following weekend at the Apex, who's another UFC fighter. So sometimes, you know, a little guys who are in town or local guys will come in and, you know, support. But you know, other than that, it's like you got your family members in there, and then that's it. So it's weird. Although I've had, since the pandemic, I've had 3 fights that are in front of nobody. You know what I mean? Or this is going to be my 3rd fight, so I'm kind of used to it now. It's half my fights. My professional fights have been in front of no fans, which is weird. But you know, it is what it is. At the end of the day, everything else is just the cage that matters. You know what I mean? What's going on in there?
Yeah, dude. There's so much training for 15 minutes.
Yeah,
there's
weird.
So much. It's like there's no other sport that, you know, it's such a unique sport in so many ways, from the teammate aspect to the fact that it's literally just 15 minutes.
Yep.
That's what you do, all this training, all this time to get people so excited, get you so invested in you, and then to go out and do your thing and to show them who you are. And like I know you're gonna do it. I know you're gonna, you know, regardless if there's, you know, a couple bleachers of people there, if it's, you know, if it was packed out. But the difference this time, you know, with Tyson and Tyson Chartier, your head coach, and you know, also Calvin, you know, one of your training partners, member of the New England Cartel with you, you know, I think number 5th, you know, ranked, you know, featherweight in the world. So they're going to be going out there with you. Your team's going with you. And more of that commitment, more of those guys saying what Tyson says, we got to show up for each other. We got to show up for each other, because we are inventing this reality because it has never existed before. We're teaching each other new, you know, yes, we're using traditional techniques and all this stuff, but I'm sure you guys are learning fucking at an unbelievable clip, because you're teaching each other this new stuff that has never even existed before.
Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, I mean, yeah, we're at the apex of the sport, right? You know what I mean? If you're working with the guys who are the best in the world in this sport, and the sport is always evolving. So, yeah, so I guess we are at the, you know what I mean? Like,
it's
every
being
single
shared
day,
more than it's ever been shared.
But exactly. So it's like, you know, that's the thing. Martial arts is weird because it's like, yeah, I mean, that's exactly, and that's what I want to do. That's why it's my passion. So if I can be a part of being the people to create, to make this thing the next generation, because I'm already taking kids in my gym who are like, I wish I knew the stuff that I knew now, and I'm teaching it to them when they're 17, you know what I mean? And like, those kids are getting so good so fast that like, I look at kids right now who are coming up in martial arts and mixed martial arts, because like I said, when I was a kid, it was a karate, and you did this and you did that, and you went to all these different places, and nobody was really putting it together. I look at the kids that come up, and I'm like, oh man, these kids are gonna, they move like I do right now, and they're like 10. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't even know like how good the sport's gonna be by the time, you know. So hopefully by then I'll be out of the UFC by the time these kids get up there, because these kids are just gonna be absolutely animals. But yeah, that's me. It's my passion. I'm grateful that I get to be a part of. Hopefully, you know what I mean. I get to be compete at the cutting edge of developing the sport of mixed martial arts. That's my goal. I mean, that's what it's my passion. So it'd be really cool. I can be a part of that. So
yeah, I think you guys are definitely doing it, because like you said, this is it's never being shared like this, with the ability for people to connect and get together. Like back in the day, it would, taking letters and all this stuff and emails for all these martial arts people to get together and then meet up and train together for a couple months or train. Like you guys are doing this, and there's a lot of, groups, I shouldn't say they're like the New England Cartel, because I've quickly become a quick fan, and you're gonna see me in some New England Cartel gear soon, some combat controller gear really soon.
Yeah.
There's a lot of groups like this.
Yep.
There's a lot of gyms that are like this, that are training people, and so it's just going to elevate. And like you said, I can't believe, in 20 years from now, the fights that are taking place and the technique that's being used is going to be so different than how it is now.
Absolutely.
It's like football, for instance, right? 20 years ago, they weren't throwing, I think the Dolphins just scored 70 points in a game.
Yeah.
For the first, it's 10 touchdowns. That's it's crazy. It's ludicrous, and so to think how that. Mixed martial arts is going to take that same type of jump at some point, and it's, we're getting to see some of it before our eyes, and you get to be a part of it is a pretty fucking cool thing.
Absolutely, man. Even less, like I said, when I was in high school in 2011, you look at fights from 2011 to 2023, right? 10 years, whatever, a little bit over 10 years, insane difference in the sport. So it's going to be insane. So it's been awesome.
Yeah. With the guys going out there, they're not just going out there. You're not flying out there with the UFC and getting put up by them. You're going to do this a little bit differently this time, right?
Yeah. So last time, like I said, I didn't really have a lot of time to adjust, and I usually when I weigh in at 145, and then I get back up to 165 pounds, usually maybe a little bit less than that. And so I said, I put on 20 pounds and before I fight. My last fight for Contender Series, I was 153 when I stepped into the cage, so I didn't put on any weight. A couple things when my sleep was all messed up because you fly from East Coast to West Coast. I was like, I was waking up early, couldn't go to bed at night. I was staying in a hotel with like tons of smoke from the casino. Like when you walk through the lobby, it was like, and I didn't have, I thought I was gonna have like a kitchen or something to cook my food. I didn't have a kitchen, so I was eating. It was a lot of things that I wasn't prepared for. I didn't have my rehydration drinks from my nutritionist. We had a miscommunication. I thought the UFC was gonna give me my rehydration drink, where you get specific drinks after you weigh in that you drink to rehydrate, and I didn't have that. So there's a lot of things that I didn't know about. That this time I'm not, you don't know until you don't know. So this time I'm flying out there a week ahead of time. I'm going to find out there this Monday. I fight on next Tuesday. We got an Airbnb, so we're staying in an Airbnb away from the city, so I don't have to see any of these freaking lights from the casino or anything like that. I have my team out there. I have a new head coach. I have Tyson. I have Rob and Calvin, who have fought at the top levels of the sport. So they're going to be just the energy to be around those guys. It's going to help me. I know it will. So we have the UFC Apex. Since they are UFC fighters, they're allowed to bring me into the UFC Apex, so I can get into there.
The Performance Institute?
Not the Apex, the Performance Institute, the PI. So that's going to be really cool.
That's where all the UFC trainers, if you're in the UFC, you're allowed to go there and use this whenever you want. Then there's unbelievable access to like all this
ice baths, hot saunas, anything I need. You know what I mean? The thing is, like, all that stuff's cool, but like I'm still at the end of my fight camp, so it's like, you know what I mean? I'll be starving anyways and not.
Yeah, you're not gonna get to enjoy it. We'll get to enjoy it when you get to bring Dr. BeeWell out there sometime when you get your contract.
My contract.
Exactly, baby. Because you can bring someone with you, right? That's how it goes. So, say I'm a coach for the day.
Exactly. How's that? I'm down. So yeah, I'm excited. Like, there's just a lot of different things that I know, and hopefully, you just try to stack. Every little is like, maybe that's 1% of, that's gonna help me 1% there, 1% here, 1% here, 1%. By the end, you put a little bit more into your percentages of winning. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, and I think that all those little details count. And if I just feel as prepared as possible to get into that cage, and then like I said, I'm just gonna go out there and just gonna do what I got to do. I say, I think in fight camps, as long as there's no stone left unturned, I did everything I possibly can, and to get myself to that fight, to perform as best I can. I don't give a fuck about the outcome. You know what I mean? I know what I did, and I was like, I don't even care. Francis Martin, I don't even care that I lost. Like I said, I came back better after. So it's like, if whatever the fucking outcome is it doesn't matter to me. It's about pursuing I'm living my dream.
Yeah, you guys
I'm
hearing
living my
this?
dream right now. So it doesn't, like, the outcome is a distraction. Like, this is my dream. I'm living. You know what I mean? I'm happy. And that's the only thing that matters to me, so.
Dude, I fucking hear that so much. I'm swearing so much tonight. I'm also fired up. I swear a little bit, but I try to rein it in. But sometimes it's good to swear. And so I want to know when I'm the happiest right now.
Yeah.
Doing this, talking to you.
It's not going to be different. What was it? I got a fucking hat that says I'm in the UFC. Like, is that the difference? Like,
Yeah,
I don't give a fuck. It's a hat.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's the thing. I learned that too. There's going to be in a combat control. Like, you got to get your beret. When you get your beret, you wear this thing in the military that says you're. It's like, I got my beret. It's a fucking hat. It's a stupid looking French hat.
Oh my God, dude.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean? It's just like everybody gets obsessed with the outcomes of something, whatever it is. Like, dude, it's not about that. It's about everything that goes into it.
Yeah,
Every day, the hard work you put into the gym, the things you got better at, the skills, the things you're learning. That's what it's all about.
The fact that you feel better in your body and you know how to feel better in your body when you need to.
Yeah.
Is like the most incredible thing to me.
Yeah.
You know, and like I can't just express how much, like, sometimes I am not always in that same, because I'm still grinding. You know, I haven't. You know, you're where you're at in terms of, like, I'm doing great. The show's doing great. The company's doing great. We're really starting to crush it here, and things are really starting to take off. But like, I think I'm on. You know, I'm like just starting to get noticed by the Contender Series guys.
Yeah.
You know, that's where I'm at. I'm not a two-time veteran who's coming back. You know, so. Like, to hear that from you, it gives me a lot of giddy up, because I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I know, like, it's about the journey, and I need to constantly focus on that, because I know that I'm so happy doing this when I show up, when I have these conversations, when I'm planning for them, when I'm, even when I'm, editing them, and I'm going through afterwards, and I'm writing about them, and I'm doing my thing. Like, I just love it. I get stressed that I don't have more time to devote just to this. And I have to do other things to make things happen in my life, and to do, to make other parts of the business run and stuff. But what I need to do is actually just accept gratitude for, like, I'm living my fucking dream.
Yep.
I'm living it right now. This is something that I talked about for 5 years that I wanted to do, was have a podcast. And, this is podcast, 20, it will likely be 2022. I said 21, but it will likely be episode 22. 22, baby, exactly. Deuces, I love it. And so I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm going to keep doing it. And I said, if I am going to go on Rogan, and I'm going to go on Huberman, and all these guys are all going to know me. Well, we'll go on my show, I'll go on there, sure. But it won't take that for me to be happy with what I'm doing, or to feel like I'm successful in doing this. Like, I already feel like I'm successful. I'm already getting all these messages all the time from people, and all, emails and texts and calls, and people just letting me know, like, how I'm impacting them and how I'm making a difference in their lives. And it's like, well, that's a giddy up, because that's what I want. That's what I want to do, is I show people that through me, I didn't know anything, because I just didn't know. And I figured out some stuff along the way, and I want to share that with people. And I know that people can teach me so much stuff that then maybe I'll hopefully be able to communicate to some more people and communicate to the masses.
You're doing it. I appreciate that. It's awesome. I mean, I think anybody who's out here actually trying to help people and put positive, good things into energy, and I'd love to be a part. So, any way I can help you do that, I would love to help you. And, hopefully you get this UFC contract, and we pack this fucking house in here, and we have a raging party after. And
yeah,
then, we have a Rebel House party, and we just do that, man. I think that's my goal, is just, and do it for positive reasons, just to really try to help people. And I think that that's why I one of the reasons why I even wanted to, right now it's late, it's Friday night. I got sparring earlier in the morning tomorrow. I'm cutting weight. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times I don't want to be doing stuff, but he's a good person, and he's putting good energy onto the universe, so I'm willing to fucking go out there and do that. So I think that's another thing, is when you see somebody doing something good, help that person out. You know what I mean? Be a good, positive person for that person. Don't just think about yourself. You know what I mean? So I appreciate you, what you're doing. I appreciate it's going to help me too, and it's going to keep it going, man, and just try to help more people.
It's some of that fight camp energy, some of that teammate energy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're going to help each other in the long run. And you trust me enough to come here 10 days before your fight, like 11 days before your fight. You trust me that much to give me your time and to do this, so because you know that I'm on the back end I'm gonna try my hardest
Absolutely.
to promote you and to get this out there and to let everyone know that this is the coolest fucking UFC fighter that's ever existed, and because you are, dude, you fucking are, you know, and so like that it's so cool how that works, and like it's I just appreciate you so much for making. I was telling the team this whole week, like, just stressed about that, like, fuck, Connor's coming up here, we got to make sure it's good, we got to get the people in the seats so we can have a good audience for him, and we did a good job, obviously. We have quite a few people here tonight, so thank you guys all for coming.
Let's go.
Giddy up, baby. So yeah, just to see that is amazing. I really want to know about the psilocybin.
Yeah, so
You're taking it to train.
Yeah, so I've been using it for years, man. I think that.
Well, we do know that you were using it to help. After the military, after you got out, after you left Afghanistan, you came home. You had a couple of buddies that that God rest their souls.
No, not me this time. It's probably you. Oh, you good?
Yeah,
all right, so so psilocybin, I started using it because I saw fighters using it, other fighters using it in training, and I was just curious, you know what I mean? I heard that it helped some online. I saw things talking about helping guys with concussions. So when I first came back into fighting, I had a couple times where actually Calvin knocked me out one time in the gym. This is a while ago, like 3 or 4 years ago, and then somebody else dropped me, and I was kind of getting dropped. So I was like, all right, I got to figure out what's going on in my head, what's going on in my brain. So I heard that psilocybin helps with healing pathways in your brain and recovery. So I started taking it for that. And I was like, oh, this stuff's pretty good. And then I started trying to use it for sparring, which was awesome. You feel like you don't get tired. Your creativity goes up through the roof. It makes you feel calm and relaxed. You can focus on what you're doing. And it's not like crazy, I thought that, before that, I took it, I think you'd be tripping out. It's not like that at all. You know what I mean? Especially if you're microdosing. So actually, one of my friends who's here, Ian, his company hooked me up with a whole bunch of capsules. I think they did like a sponsorship deal where they hooked me up with like a shit ton, like 180 capsules, like 3 bottles of it, and I just was taking it for like a year. And then when I thought I was doing that for my fighting career strictly, but I started realizing that it made me feel better. I had less urge to party and drink. I had less urges to do other things, the negative for myself, and I don't know why. I think it clears up those pathways in your brain of these things that you think that you need to do to help you that are actually bad for you. I honestly believe psilocybin helped me realize I don't need those things. So that's another thing. So actually, when I went down into the military, I was going to. I started doing my fighting career, started doing pretty good. So I started connecting with all my military members. They invited me down to go do a, what was it? I forgot what the first thing was. I forgot. I went down to Texas for something. And then I talked to all those guys, and all of them were doing psilocybin. Guys who were veterans and guys who were struggling with PTSD. And it was like, I didn't talk to them about doing it, but then they started doing it. It was almost like everybody started doing it at the same time. And they are seeing tons of benefits with, helping them with PTSD, helping them with, they're like making them better, healthier, you know what I mean? Because everybody knows about military veterans is like we have a huge suicide rate, we have a huge, domestic violence and all this stuff because guys come back from war and they're all fucked up. And our job is we were on when you're special operations, you're literally tip of the spear. There's no way to say it. Like you're going out on missions and you're doing things that are regretful. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's hard to live with.
Non-human.
He's a non-human. It's you know what I mean? We get.
It's a serious, unfortunate reality, right?
Unfortunate reality, but it's
Connor Matthews 7 is what we'll probably get into that.
It's an unnecessary. You know what I mean? So you have these mental scars that when you come back, and the only thing that guys usually know how to deal with the problems is what I think we talked about earlier is alcohol. And alcohol makes you act more emotional, it makes you act more violent, it makes you act more aggression, it makes you unhealthy, you feel like shit the next day, and all this stuff, and they get fat, and you know what I mean? All this stuff that is kind of compounds because of their PTSD. They're trying to cope with the things that went overseas, and psilocybin is the #1 thing I've seen help those guys. And so they're, so I'm super happy. And the other thing is ayahuasca. Guys are going on ayahuasca journeys. So they're going out with like a shaman or whatever it is. I haven't done that, but. And I think it's just really good.
What about MDMA?
MDMA has been a huge thing as well. I know a lot of guys that are doing MDMA, and I feel like that's another huge. I mean, it's science. I mean, people are. It's a well-known thing now.
They just crushed their phase 3 trials. They were incredible stuff that we would never ever see. It would be impossible for us to see from a traditional pharmaceutical. The numbers are crazy.
When I came back from Afghanistan, I went to a Odessa concert and I did MDMA, and it was the first time that I felt compassion and love before I left for my deployment for Afghanistan. And I felt that compassion and love, and I realized that when we talked about that, I wanted to go back and do the thing that I loved, which is martial arts, and that's when I started to take this journey to do what I'm doing right now, and it was because I did MDMA at a concert. And I wasn't doing it for that, but inadvertently, I mean, like, things happen for a reason, and I feel like that's like, there's so many people that forgot or they lost that pathway in their brain to feel love. They don't even know how to feel love anymore, or they don't know how to feel like compassion for other people because when I was in the military, my job was to kill people.
Their nervous system protected them so that
survival.
they could survive.
Survival.
Their brain did what it had to do, which was shut off the love machine.
Exactly.
Shut off the loved one.
That's not who I am as a person, but I had to make those decisions. I got brainwashed, and that's what military does. They brainwash you to do something because it's necessary.
Right.
And for safety for me, it was necessary to put myself in that mind state to do what I had to do so I can come back alive. And I don't think there's anything.
They also attach you to all your brothers who they need to come back alive as well.
Bring everybody else back alive.
And then you're caring about all these other people. Then all this on you.
When you come back, you need to figure out how to get those pathways open, and I feel like that's the best way to do it. Is MDMA and psilocybin, and you know what I mean? I think that it's been proven right now, and I think, you know, in 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we're going to be looking at this like, oh, no brainer. What are they talking about? Because it's definitely helping people, and it's not bad for people. There's all these things. It puts holes in your brain and all this stuff. It's not true. I don't think so. Where's the holes? Where's the holes?
Yeah, it's repairing the holes.
Exactly.
You know, from the other shit that we put in the booze and all that.
Yeah.
Dude, this is fascinating to hear. It's incredible to hear that it's happening at that level. That people are. I mean, I'm telling you, a lot of guys and ayahuasca. I'm a little bit scared of the ayahuasca thing. They see some demons and stuff, but but it's healing those people. A lot of guys are having really positive results from that too, as well. So there's alternate, you know what I mean, plant medicine, and the thing is that, you know, pharmaceutical companies ain't making money off those, so they don't want you to continue to have problems. To be scared. They want you to be scared. They want you to think that you're going to hurt yourself, that you're going to hurt others, that you cannot handle this medicine. Guys, like, you know, you're going to trip and you're going to go crazy and you're going to have, you know, with LSD, you know, you're never going to be the same again. Yeah, you're never going to be the same because you're going to be healing.
Yep.
You know, the thing, and thank you, Ian. That's a giddy up, you know, for providing that for your friends and for the community. You know, let's definitely talk more. Because that is a great way, you know, getting them in a capsule form where it's dosed appropriately. You know, this is something that we're working on with some of the technology that we have with the honey, where we're trying to make it so that you can exactly figure out to the milligram, you know, how much psilocybin you're taking. Like right now, you know, because of the prodrug, because it's a prodrug and it gets converted from psilocybin into psilocin, you know, we know it's about 10% of the weight of psilocybin. So if you're taking 50 milligrams of psilocybin, then you're going to be getting 5 milligrams of psilocin, and so figuring out, you know, but it always varies because like the psilocybin is different within the mushroom. So if you grind up the whole mushroom, it's mostly going to be uniform, but you might get one that's like, you know, if you're doing 50, you might get one that's 60, one that's 40, one that's 60. So just figuring out a way to dose, you know, more appropriately will be a good thing, but also not to get in the way of like establishing a personal relationship with this. Like, fuck, I took too much yesterday. You know, because I wasn't able to, you know, I kind of got lost a little bit and, you know, maybe I saw some visuals or something like that where I wasn't able to actually do the work. And maybe that is what you need that day. You might need to go a little bit deeper because some of those bigger journeys are helpful. But from the microdosing standpoint, it's not unsafe. You know, it is safer than you know, so many drugs that exist on the market. I cannot wait to see us shepherd this in the right way, and to be talking about it not just like Timothy Leary saying, like, let's just all get fucked up and have a fun time and see this. It's like, no, motherfucker, let's heal.
Yep.
Let's heal. Yeah, and the PTSD, like, that you're telling me these stories that these guys are healing, and I'm a part of, you know, I know a lot of veterans and a lot of guys who are, you know, I'm sharing some of this stuff with, but a little bit different because I don't have that background that I can actually share with them. And so they tell me that what they're doing, but like not necessarily the trauma that they're getting over, and like to know that it is trauma of taking life, like the number one, trauma to have to get over, and to know that like people come back from war and they come back, and it's because it's such an inhumane thing. They're so damaged, and it's so unfair to them, and they've given to protect, and that, of course that's a large argument, but in what they're doing for us, it is, protecting us. And so it's just so sad to see that the VA is fucking underfunded and can't, help people out, and that we're, forcing, that, we're putting these people in places where they're not going to be able to be successful, when, like, dude, we could have these, these communities and have these sanctuaries all over the country where we're having people who are shepherding this in the right way, and a mix between some, some traditional doctors who are, who are learning, but then also people, who have been doing this for, for a long time and understand this type of medicine. Like, that's the thing that I've really, like, understood, that you don't need, you need to have a personal relationship with it, and you don't need to be somebody who has a 6-year degree in it to be somebody who can help somebody with an experience with psilocybin. You don't, or LSD. You don't need to be that.
Yep.
I love that it's healing people, and I love that it's, I think that there's definitely some concussion benefits. I think that for me, it allows you to see a different perception. You're able to perceive things differently. Mm-hmm. So things that were bothering you, you might have been stuck. You might have been on something, and, like, you were so frustrated, like, because you were unhappy, you couldn't let, that was different, that's MDMA, but with psilocybin, it's like and it's similar, of
I
course.
feel like they're very similar. Whatever feeling I felt through MDMA, I think MDMA hit me in a way of more of a love, passion family.
Yes.
But psilocybin gives me a different, looking at something from a different angle or different view.
It's a different angle, that's exactly, the psilocybin, I definitely agree that MDMA is
different perspective.
The perspective, exactly. Yeah. So, like, the angle that, the MDMA definitely had, and that there's chemical reasons behind this. There is dopaminergic activity that happens in MDMA, which is, that's the happy drug. It's one that you do want. It's why we have to be extra cautious with MDMA.
And I think you should too. And that's another thing. I don't think it should be something that should be taken lightly. I think you shouldn't be overdosing yourself, and you should be taking it every single weekend or anything like that. I'm not saying it's a party thing, but I'm saying it could be if it's controlled and it's a good way to get medication for people. I think it could be the number one thing to help depression in this country. Yeah,
and that's what the trials are. That's what the MAPS trials are. Is they have two. You're going to go in. You have two therapists. One therapist. You're gonna. A lot of times you're going to be doing this eyes closed. They're going to have all types of consent beforehand, what they can and can't do, and then they're going to play some music. They're going to put you on this journey, and you're going to go through it and see what happens. And, like, a lot of times you're going to heal, and you're going to feel better. You're going to feel feelings that you haven't felt, and so it's just incredible that it's doing that.
That's why I just want to say that my walkout song is "Loyal" by Odessa. If you listen to it, and it's kind of a cool song because it starts off with, like, drums, like a military drums, but it is from that when I heard that song at that concert, and it was like that was when I had that healing experience. So when I walk out to that song, it kind of like I feel that feeling, and then I walk out to my fights and do that. So if you ever give that song a listen, that's why I came up with that song. And everybody thinks it's because it starts out like a military song, but it's actually because that's the song that I felt when I had that experience,
the layers
that healing
to this
experience.
The layers to this, I love every second of it, and it just further, like, just shows me how, like, it's really cool to my perception of fighters beforehand too was a little bit different than what it is now. It's like, you're this fucking super deep guy who's doing this in such a deep, intimate way, and you talk about how I have such a different perception of fighting now because of what how you've taught me and the way you talk about it and the way that you go about it, and I just so thankful for that. Now, I think that it's cool. I just got to touch on it. You use it for performance as well.
Yeah. So yeah, I use psilocybin for performance.
Because, dude, this is a thing that I've been trying to tell people this for a while. The biggest thing I say to them is say, hey, after you get into doing the psilocybin, you get going a little bit, try doing some yoga. See what's going to happen for your yoga game. See what's going to happen. Like, it gets you to this level, because it gets you to the point. I think it's the same thing as the level of perception. You realize, like, oh, wait a second. Was I just, like, standing on my leg that way, or, holding my body weight that way, and I was actually holding myself back, and I don't need to do that? I can actually do this, and it's fine. And
So,
then
so we're talking about nervous system. Your body is a nervous system, right? Everybody, it's not just your head and your spinal cord. It like goes throughout your entire body, and you're opening up pathways throughout your entire nervous system. So when you take mushrooms, you're opening up new pathways and things that the way we just walk around, like we just do things in a very linear or one way over and over and over, because that's the way we learn, right? When you're, from whatever reason, or you get stuck in certain ways. When you take mushrooms and psilocybin, it expands that whole way of you feeling your body and your nervous system, so you're able to just explore new ways to move your body. And it's like right away when I take it, if I take it and I'm smart, I'm sore and I'm unflexible because my body doesn't want to move that way. But as soon as I take it, it opens my body up, and then like for yoga, I can stretch out in different ways. Like it's because your body just releases all those pathways throughout your body. And I don't know if that's science, but that's what I feel like it is exactly what it does. You know what I mean?
Well, dude, I love it because I mean, we haven't studied it, so that's why we don't know whether it's science or not, but I have the exact same, opinion of you, and I actually have a little bit more science to back it up. So, like I was saying earlier, so MDMA is a dopaminergic. That's why we feel a little bit more happiness. It's why we need to be extra careful with it, the most careful with it of all the psychedelics, because it does dopaminergic. That means can scream addiction.
Yep.
It can happen.
1000%.
Psilocybin, LSD, they're serotonergic, meaning they're working on the serotonin receptors in your brain. The greatest thing about the 5-HT2A receptors, which is the serotonin receptors, is there's peripheral all throughout your entire body.
Yep.
So that's why I know when I have my psilocybin experiences, and then I go and I dance, I move my body, and then I go home and I foam roll and I meditate. The ability, the access that I have is so incredibly different, and that throughout my whole body I can feel it. This entire charge. And it's something that, like, I was super nervous to start talking about this in public. I have a pharmacy degree. I have a background, of mental health and addiction, and I was very nervous to start saying that I was utilizing this stuff to help me. And I bet a lot of the veterans felt the same way.
Yeah, same thing. It's shunned upon in our community, or in general, because it's like it's a drug. It's like a hippie drug. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're military guys, like you shouldn't be taking that stuff. So it's definitely shunned upon, and you know what I mean. So same thing. So.
Yeah. It's amazing. There's a guy in Maine who is a big part of the decrim movement up there, and his name's Yeshua Adane, and this guy's a Marine, badass motherfucker, and he's really at the forefront of trying to happen in Maine, and it's happening here in the Northeast at a rapid rate. Massachusetts is doing a great job decriminalized there, making it legal in I think like 8 municipalities now, which is amazing. Keep pushing that forward. Maine's doing the same thing. New Hampshire. But
live free or die.
Live free or die.
But you can't do drugs.
But you can't do drugs. You can only
don't do that.
You can only not wear your seatbelt. Yeah. Not wear a helmet. It's like, come on, guys. Like, it's just wild. Now I think that's incredible. But the fact that like you're using performance, that you're getting, you're seeing gains in it, right? Because the same thing's happening. You're saying like, oh, if I can do this differently, and I can, slip. And now about the fight game, I know that you are always like you're constantly working on your striking. And I know Andrew Cruz was a wrestler, so you were able to kind of improve on that. And is that kind of what you've been working on to get to this next point, and you're excited to try to, is that what this fight is about? Like,
So this fight, I mean, I'm constantly always working every aspect of what I'm doing, you know what I mean? So sometimes in fight camps you build skills that you wouldn't necessarily think you wanted to build, because I'm preparing for a specific kind of opponent. So I specifically work on, like, so Andrew Cruz is a good wrestler, so I worked on, wrestling defense stuff. So I got really good at wrestling defense for that fight, because I knew it was going to help me. So now that I don't just lose that skill when I go to my next, now that's a part of my game that I got better at. This guy's a tall, big, long striker, right? So now I'm working on how to deal with that type of fighter. So now, if I fight this guy, and then now I'm going to fight another guy who's similar, I'm going to have that skill set. So you're always working on specific things for your next opponents that you think are going to help you to win. But doesn't mean all the shit I learned before that I lost. So like that's kind of what we're doing, because everybody, that thing's beautiful. The crazy thing about martial arts, it's not like football where like everybody's like, you play a team, like this is a wide receiver, the wide receiver, they all look the fucking same, right? The quarterback, they all look the same. Martial arts it's an art. It's like this guy's style looks totally different than this guy's style, and there's, you know what I mean? So it's like you're gonna build these skill sets that are like, you have to prepare for these different, that would enhances your game, which, you know what I mean, sometimes could be just unlock a new thing in your brain that completely changes your game. So I don't know how to explain that correctly,
but I think you're doing a good job. I think you're doing a good job of it.
That's the kind of the way.
Have you been finding some of these things with training with some of the, training with the training partners that you are, with the higher competition training? Are you finding that you're unlocking some of these things that you may not have known before that you're going to be able to bring into this fight?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a completely different fighter. I mean, working with those guys day in and day out just completely changed. I mean, I have to. You mean like the guys, because those guys got so good over the years doing the same thing that I'm doing. So now like, if that makes sense, like since they got to a level, now I'm catching up to now I'm competing at their level, right, in the gym, which pushes me even beyond. So it's like, it's just like it's
100%,
it's an ever-growing thing. Yeah. So like him making me better is at the end of the day, it's gonna make the next guy I train with to get him better. Like when my kids come up in my gym, when I start sparring and fighting the kids that I have going up in my gym right now, now all the things I'm learning right now are gonna help them get better.
Yes, dude, 100%. And it's like, that's what's so cool about what you guys are building and the way that you're, it's just gonna, 20 years from now, the fight game is gonna be really insane. I don't know, I think that we'll have to we'll have to figure out the head thing, because we're gonna get so strong and so good at, fucking people up that it's gonna, you're gonna have to figure that out along the way. Yeah. So the gentleman that you're fighting is Yair Ferreiras?
Yeah.
Yair Ferreira?
Yeah, Ferreiras. I don't know.
Ferreiras.
Brazilian,
I was trying to look up how to pronounce his name. I found a couple of people and they were pronouncing it differently, so I didn't necessarily know. I wanted to try to find him and reach out to him, but I didn't have time. So I'm sorry for pronouncing his name wrong, but I think it's right. He's 10-0.
Yep.
He's only fought in Brazil.
Yep.
7 TKOs, two wins by submission. How do you feel about him? Maybe you've been doing some tape and.
I mean, yeah. So this basically the Contender Series. What they do is you end up getting all the best prospects from every country coming up. So he's the future of the sport, and coming out of the Brazil, I'm the future of the sport coming out of America, and we get bottlenecked into Contender Series to fight the next level. And so he's going to be very good. He's 10-0. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From Brazil. I mean, which is like one of the cultures that created the UFC.
Yeah, his kid's been doing it since he was.
Gracie, that's the part of their culture. So he's going to be a very good opponent. He's a striker. He's tall. He's big. He's 5'11". He fights, which is crazy, at 145. So I expect the best to be fighting one of the best guys in the world. Which that's my goal, is to fight the best guys in the world. So I'm prepared for it. But I'm not taking this, it's no slouch that I'm getting in there and fighting. It's a legit guy. So, but I'm up for the challenge no matter what. So.
You're up for it.
Yep.
Yeah, man, I love that. Having respect for your opponent is such a giant thing. You guys seem like you're pretty evenly matched. I think he's like maybe a little taller than you are, a little bit more of a reach, but at the end of the day, like you said, this mixed martial arts thing, the weight is what really matters, and when it comes down to it, you're gonna, he's been trying to figure out what your style is, and you're trying to figure out what his style is, and you guys are gonna go at it on the 10th.
Yep.
Win or lose, you'll be here though.
Yes, sir. I'll be here no matter what.
I know you're gonna win, because I just have the utmost faith in you. I know we're gonna be throwing a party back here afterwards. Fuck yeah, baby! It's gonna be such a giddy up. So 36 contracts. It's so the way the Contender Series is done is it's a 10-week series on Tuesdays and 10-week series on Tuesdays.
Yep.
And they're 5 fights a night, so up to 10 people. So that means that so far there's been 70 fighters, and 36 of them have been given contracts.
Yep.
So that's the next step, right? Like that's to come in, dominate the fight, and then is it an immediate thing? Is that how it goes?
I mean, and they give contracts not based on if you win the fight or not. It's based on performances. Like my teammate Angel Pacheco just fought last weekend. Yeah, last weekend, and he actually lost his fight, but they gave out two contracts that night. So it's what I mean. It's about performances and not about win or lose. But You know what I mean? It is what it is. Like, you know, obviously if you get the win, you guys have a good chance you're going to get the contract, especially if you do it in devastating fashion. But I've seen guys win the fight and be a boring fight, and Dana's like, we don't want this guy in the UFC. So it's, you know, it's about going out there, and he wants to see knockouts, he wants to see finishes, he wants to see exciting fights. I think I proved that to him 2 times already, that I can be an exciting fighter. So I just got to go do my job. That's what I am. I am an exciting fighter. It's not that I want to be an exciting fighter. I am an exciting fighter. So I just got to go out there and just do what I do.
Yeah, and you're gonna do it, man. You're gonna do it. I think you forgot one member of your fight team though that you're bringing out there. You mentioned it. Yeah, him too. But you mentioned that she has experience as a lunch lady.
Oh, my mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's coming out there. So my mom was a chef. So she used to own a restaurant, and then she ended up, you know, it's a lot of work. So then she got a job as a lunch lady at school. So she's a great chef at home too. She's always cooking, and she's been a huge help for my fight camps, especially like, you know, when I'm out and I'm like, so just so people know, I live in South Coast, Massachusetts. So I drive an hour and 45 minutes, 4 days a week to go train in Lawrence, which is near New Hampshire. So I'm driving all day long. And then the other 2 days I'm driving to Dedham. So like I'm on the car a lot, but it's necessary because that's what I need to do to accomplish my goals and train with the best guys I possibly can. Like I said, sacrifices, right? And but my mom's, I live in my parents' house. Mom's based in MMA, is my gym. And so when she hooks me up, I get my nutrition diet, I give it to my mom, she cooks it up, and she does it way better than I could do it, and I couldn't do it without her. So like, I think, you know, you have the pillars of being a fighter, and it's like having the good, like, you have to have, it's a lot of it's me, but a lot of team is having the right people around you. You know what I mean? It's hard work, it's you know, athletic ability, and it's having, you know, the right people around you to help you out too. So I'm very grateful for that. And it doesn't go unseen. Like, I mean, I tell her thank you every single time she gives me food and hooks me up. And, you know, I mean, if I couldn't do that without them. So I'm super grateful for her to come out there, and I'm excited. You know what I mean? You know, at first she wasn't really huge on this big MMA thing, that me going back into, especially getting out of the freaking military.
Oh, you got out of the military. It's so great. You're going to be safe now. Oh, no, Mom, I'm going to go fight the
Well, she does like it that it's safer than the job I was doing before this. So it's so there's that. She's like, at least you're not going to Afghanistan. Right. She was crazy when I was going to Afghanistan. She's like tracking. I remember she was like tracking my location. Like, she literally was like looking up like hotels in Kabul. Like, she's gonna go to Kabul to come. Like, I'm like, Mom, like, you can't come to Afghanistan. You can't come see me in Afghanistan. So she's like, she's been awesome. She's awesome. So but I'm so grateful to have both my parents, my dad and my mom, and, you know, my girlfriend. So, you know, I'm ready to go.
Support is huge, man.
Support's huge.
Support's huge, and when you have it, it's just like, you know, that's why we're, you know, you got to be blessed, you know, to have that support to make a journey like this. Like, you know, some people can do it on their own, but it's really not really. You need other people.
No, like I said, it's a team. It's a team. It's not you. But it's my responsibility to, you know, you have to have people want to invest in you. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So you got to show them. You got to prove them.
Yeah, you got to prove to them. You got to prove like that they care about you, and the only is showing love and back to them. You know what I mean? And making you care about them, then they'll care about you. If I was just an asshole to the people, they're not going to want to care about me. So that's part of, you know, part of the thing. So.
Yeah, I hear it. I hear that, and I love everybody who does all the work with me. Dr. BeeWell. I love all you guys so much. You're all giddy up. Like, thank you so much. I want to, you know, I'm going to continue to do the best job in following Connor's footsteps to try to thank you guys for everything you do for me. And I just think it's so cool, man. What you got going on. I'm so ready for this fight. I'm so ready for you to you know, to do this and to, you know, to get it going and to just see what happens and, like, not be worried about what happens next, because, like, I know regardless we're gonna, you know, the third episode that we do together is gonna be great, you know, no matter the outcome, but it's likely gonna be an awesome outcome that's followed by a fucking rager, you know, here that you guys will all come and hang out and celebrate with us. I'm curious if anybody in the audience has you know, any questions, and okay, giddy up.
I got a question, man.
Hold on, right here.
Oh, sweet. Dude, thank you very much for your service, first of all. That's definitely awesome. How much do you want the Francis fight back at all? Like, what do you have, like, any desire to get that back and, like, get that win and not lose that decision?
Honestly, I mean, yeah, so like technically yes, like I want it back in from a fighter's aspect, but I had the opportunity to go train Francis after my fight. We still communicate to each other all the time, and I really like him. I think he's a really nice kid. If anything, I'd like to team up with him. You know what I mean? We fought together. We had our fight. We did our thing. So I want nothing. I don't have anything personal against Francis. I think he's young. He's gonna have a ton of potential. He's one of these kids who are 22. He's 22 years old, and he fought. You know, he got to the UFC fast. So he has so much to think about. Me, I started my career at 26. You know what I mean? He has so much time to get better, and he's one of the freaking. I look at his phone every day. He's like running 5 miles before 3 o'clock in the morning. He's like a savage. Kid's an animal. So yeah. So I don't really want. I don't care about fighting him. But would I fight him if I had to fight him? 100%, because it's not personal out there. You know what I mean? My fights are never personal. It's the only personal thing is he's standing in between me and my goal. That's the only personal. So on fight day, yes, it's personal. But other than that, not personal at all. And yeah, I mean, it would nice be. Part of me wants. I wish I could fight him today for the first time, because with the skill set that I built after this whole fight camp, and I just know how much better I am right now in complete martial arts I am. So I would, yeah.
Well, then that's maybe why at some point, if he keeps going on his trajectory and you continue on your trajectory, that maybe there will be a rematch.
It could be. You know what I mean? So it might happen. We'll see. We're buddies, though. We'll see. I mean, it would be an awesome fight. I mean, it'd be cool. Maybe we'll sell at the Garden one day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, a couple of East Coast kids, you know, doing it that way, man. I think that's such a cool, cool story, and how things can.
Madison or TD, you know?
Yeah, Madison, exactly.
A Garden, let's go.
A Garden, baby, hell yeah. I love that. I think that's awesome. The fact that you were, that but you'd be a different fighter. That's why it has to be a rematch. Because if you didn't lose, you'd be a different fighter. You might not have had the same, or maybe not. Maybe you would have still just done the same things if you had won, and you would have created that way.
Yeah,
but maybe
yeah, if I would have won, maybe I wouldn't have never switched up my fight camp. Maybe I would never be training with the New England Cartel. Maybe I would be doing the same thing that I did because I got success. I thought that I had the right answers. So
that's why I know you're just gonna keep grinding, and that is the key. That's the message tonight, guys. Is there any other questions? Okay.
All right.
Giddy up. Well, do you have anyone to to thank, or anyone to plug?
Yeah. So sponsorship of mine, I got First Air Foundation. They're a combat. They're combat controllers. It's a foundation. Basically, they're supported. They've been sponsoring me for this fight camp, and they're awesome because they help any combat controllers who come back from actually they're big into the plant medicine. They got help. They're the plug for our guys when they're coming back to help them out with the plant medicine and all that kind of stuff. And they're also anybody who's struggling. You know what I mean? They're an organization that's trying to help these veterans that are coming back. If it's a family, unfortunately, we have a lot of suicides and stuff like that are happening in our community. They donate money to those families. So if anybody, and they're supporting me so I can chase my dream. So I sell my merch on there. So on their website, firsttherefoundation.org.
Say it slower.
First there, like first there. That was our slogan, is first there, because we
first there.
First there. Yeah.
Okay, first there.
I need to take a sip of water.
Yeah, no, my bad. I was just
first there. So that's our slogan, because in the combat controllers, we're the first ones to go in. Everybody says the Marines are like, oh yeah, we're up there we're setting up. You couldn't airdrop guys in unless we got there first to call in the airdrops and stuff like that. So that we are actually the first guys in there to do for a lot of things to facilitate all these wars that we go in.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Yeah.
But so that's our firsttherefoundation.org website. I got my merch on there. The money actually goes to them so they can support other people, not just me. So I think it's a really good, good thing we got going. And, New England Cartel, my team, Mom's Basement guys, my family, Ian. He's out here on a Friday night watching me. So I appreciate everybody who supports me going into this fight. And I've actually had a non-standard, which is actually a New Hampshire veteran company. You guys, a Green Beret. He's supported me. He sponsored me for this fight. The veteran community really got behind me in this this last fight camp, and they're all kind of onto what we're talking about. This all natural, holistic training, healing, and I want to be a voice for that, and go out there, perform, and then trying to open up this idea to everybody that that we have things to help people, and they support me. So thank you for everybody who supported me. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. You got our support.
Oh, yeah.
100%. Yeah. Giddy up. So this is
Mark's Organics.
Yeah, so this is another part of the show. I want to thank Mark's Organics so much for sponsoring tonight's show. For making this happen. They've also they've donated these capsules to you. These are a 50-50 mix, and I know that it's not something you actively do during fight camp or anything like that. But sometimes with recovery, you get into the the THC.
Yep.
So that that's for you. Mark's Organics. They're they're a medical cannabis shop over in Kittery, Maine. These guys are incredible, man. They've been these guys have been giving me my medicine since the beginning of time. Since I started to get into this, had a lot of people who are doing it great. These guys are just really a cut above. So I'm so happy to be able to give these to you. Thanks so much for wearing that shirt. Because they are awesome guys and they did help us out so much with tonight's event. So love you, Mark. Love you, Johnny. Love you guys so much. Thank you so much. For supporting us. So that's the first sponsor. Of course, thank you to Rebel House for for hosting us, for being a great studio, a great event space. Then two, of course, brought to you, by Dr. BeeWell Honey. Giddy up, baby. This is in, so Dr. BeeWell Honey is now available in, Massachusetts shops. Go check it out. Berkshire Roots is our partner. They're great. We love them. Thank you guys so much, for making this possible. And so check out the honey. It's gonna, it's helping people heal. I'd love for you to see what other fighters think about that, and see what they're thinking. Because I bet a lot of these guys are using THC, and a lot of them.
Every one of them.
Every one of them.
I don't know a fighter that doesn't.
Yeah, and so getting it through the capsules and getting it through.
Coach Tyson doesn't. That's it.
No, Tyson doesn't. Come on, Coach. He's showing up for everybody, he's making sure he's gonna be on top of his game.
He's the only one that he's on his shit, man. He's coach. He's got to be structured.
Exactly. Hell yeah. So yeah, the honeys. Definitely. We're just so grateful for for this platform that that we've created, that we've been given, and we thank you all for co-creating it with us. For everyone here in the audience tonight, we thank you for spending a Friday night for us. That's a giddy up. That's a salute to you guys. Thank you so much. You are literally making my dreams come true. I think Connor feels the same way.
For sure.
So thank you guys so much. Let's do this again soon. Dr. BeeWell Live is going to be a monthly thing that we're doing here, having different guests. Can't wait to have Connor back on the show. Can't wait to be throwing his party after he knocks out his opponent and gets a win and gets a UFC contract on the 10th, baby. So, Connor, thank you so much, brother.
Love you,
it's
bro.
a giddy
Thank
up.
you. Appreciate you.
You know it, man.